11.4 billion shillings owed to the ministry. Association chairperson Kiarie Kamau warns that unless the government clears the outstanding payments, the timely delivery of learning materials could be in jeopardy. The Pioneer Competency-Based Education class set to join secondary school in January requires 7 million copies of textbooks and literary works.
Publishers are collectively owed approximately 11.4 billion Kenya shillings, broken down as follows. Supply of books for grades 1 up to 8, 11.15 billion. Supply of books for grade 9, 234 million. We have not been able to settle dues printers who are now owed an approximate amount of 4 billion Kenya shillings. Other affected stakeholders include the distributors that we use, the authors who have written these books, and even the Kenya Revenue Authority.
And moving on is that the Kenyan Network of Cancer Organizations has submitted a motion to Parliament complaining about the poor allocation of funds to cover cancer treatment under the SHA insurance. In the bill tabled by the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Gladys Bosh-Sholoi, Kenco also complained that cancer patients still have many challenges in getting quality health services.
Honorable members, the Kenya Network of Cancer Organization concludes by praying that the National Assembly does the following. 1. Ensuring an enhancement of oncology benefits, which was cut from 600,000 per individual under NHIF to 400,000 per household under SHA. 2. Commissions an independent audit of SHA funds, reviewing benefit structures, creating reforms for fairness and sustainability in cancer care financing, and ensure adequate allocation of funds to the primary health care fund and the emergency, chronic and critical illnesses fund. And 3, makes any other order or direction it deems fit in addressing the plight of the petitioners.
That's the News Wire. I'm Leo Ubaka.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
You have land, Dennis. Yeah. Okay, your own land. You use your own money to build it, and then you sell it to yourself.
But we don't want foreign troops on Kenyan soil.
But surely it goes a little bit deeper. This is it.
If you find a tree is withering, then you call the person who is managing that tree. Come around.
Yeah,
Why? Tell me what is
first of all, what's the problem?
Yes, what is the problem there?
How do we expect ourselves to move forward as a country?
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
He is himself actually has admitted that he bribed members of parliament, so...
he admitted that he bribed members of parliament?
Well, when he said...
The government.
Yeah, when he said that he gave the 10 million was for what?
We're always quick to point faults in somebody else before you look at your own faults as a person.
If it was Kanu's day, hii amuka naye leo ungekuwa umeenda bali sana hii. So and we must celebrate you.
There are 600 million people now globally estimated to be living with diabetes in the world. So it is a major health problem. It's the largest single disease rising pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
Presidency is fairly interesting in the sense that it will actually take us to a new consciousness.
Swali zile watu hawaulizi na swali muuliza na shangala ni aje kwani huku kunaendaje?
30 billion shillings annually on travel alone in public service.
A Kenyan can even demonstrate every single day of his life that Ruto must go. That is the only message of his demonstration. That is his right.
That bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and subverts the cause of those who are in the right.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
SRC's mandate is constitutional. It's not an advice. It's actually something you must do.
Like now, you abandon, of course, the narrative of wheelbarrow, Mutomjengo, Mamamboga, and all those, that rosy narrative.
Your expenditure is 3.3 trillion, and you're collecting only 2.5. Out of that 2.5, you're spending 1.8 trillion to service loans and so forth.
That the CDF kit, it's in itself a symptom of corruption.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
We look at the utterances of leaders who are aligned to broad-based, who were initially in ODM. We thought they stand for something. Now they've been exposed.
Because we are a third world country, we are poor. And not because we don't have resources, but we have been robbed senseless.
Look at the wasteful expenditure. Look at how large government lives. And we've said this is something that can be controlled. It happens in many other countries.
Internally, we used to stand and tell him, boss, hii kitu ni mbaya. And you'd say, now he doesn't let me tell you. You saw the other parliamentary group meeting. People went there, sat, listened, looked at him. There was no plenary, left.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord. It shouldn't be like that.
I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing police of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
We look at the utterances of leaders who are aligned to broad-based, who were initially in ODM. We thought they stand for something. Now they've been exposed.
Because we are a third world country, we are poor. And not because we don't have resources, but we have been robbed senseless.
Look at the wasteful expenditure. Look at how large government lives. And we've said this is something that can be controlled. It happens in many other countries.
Internally, we used to stand and tell him, boss, hii kitu ni mbaya. And you'd say, now he doesn't let me tell you. You saw the other parliamentary group meeting. People went there, sat, listened, looked at him. There was no plenary, left.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
He himself actually has admitted that he bribed members of parliament, so...
he admitted that he bribed members of parliament?
Well, when he said...
The government.
Yeah, when he said that he gave the 10 million was for what?
We're always quick to point faults in somebody else before you look at your own faults as a person.
If it was Kanu's day, hii amuka naye leo, ungekuwa umeenda bali sana hii. And we must celebrate you.
There are 600 million people now globally estimated to be living with diabetes in the world. So it is a major health problem. It's the largest single disease rising pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Presidency is fairly interesting in the sense that it will actually take us to a new consciousness.
Swali zile watu hawaulizi na swali muuliza na shangala ni aje kwani huku kunaendaje?
30 billion shillings annually on travel alone in public service.
A Kenyan can even demonstrate every single day of his life that Ruto must go. That is the only message of his demonstration. That is his right.
That bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and subverts the cause of those who are in the right.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
SRC's mandate is constitutional. It's not an advice. It's actually something you must do.
Must do.
Like now you abandon, of course, the narrative of wheelbarrow, Mutomjengo, Mamamboga, and all those, that narrative, that rosy narrative.
Your expenditure is 3.3 trillion, and you're collecting only 2.5. Out of that 2.5, you're spending 1.8 trillion to service loans and so forth.
That the CDF kit, it's in itself a symptom of corruption.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Can you imagine it's 6:15? As we are here like this, you woke up this morning, you did, and then it's 6:15 already. We are awake and we're actually here. Started just a few minutes late. Sorry guys about that, but we're here this morning. Good morning, Mr. Dennis Okari.
I'm good. How are you?
Mimi, why can't I hear you? Eh? Ngoja kwanza uniulize tena. Ask again.
Uko salama lakini?
Mimi niko salama, thank you very much.
Mombasa Roads.
Uko Mombasa tuko salama.
Oh, you know the joke, eh?
I got it.
Good.
Dennis Aseto.
Niaje?
Poa sana.
Kufiti?
Niko poa.
Na kucheki.
Wapi?
Hapo tu penye
Mimi niko salama. And we're getting into things this morning. Did you know that Dennis's birthday is on the 25th of December? He's a Christmas baby.
Yeah.
This one, Dennis Aseto.
This one, Dennis Aseto, is a
You
Christmas
share birthday with baby Jesus.
Mary's boy child, Aseto.
Yeah.
25th of December.
25th of December, actually, a story is told of how my mom wanted to call me Emmanuel, but my dad was like, nope. I want him to be Dennis.
Okay.
Your dad stopped your destiny. now you'll be a pastor somewhere.
So, as I told you, I was an altar boy all the way until after high school, yeah? So at some point, I remember Father Mota came home, and I was actually meant to go to a seminary.
Unaona sasa ungekuwa umesaidia watu wengi sana.
Unaona nyota ilikuwa imeoshwa.
Sikia, but destiny ni nani? Mungu ni nani? So the letter that I was supposed to go to Mother of Apostles Seminary delayed by a day. That's how I ended up going to Anderson's High School and not Mother of Apostles Seminary. And that's how priesthood manenos disappeared.
You know, if you track very well, kuna mali nyota ilipigwa diversion. Endo safishiwe nyota, my friend.
Mimi niko tu sawa.
Na wewe uko salama?
Me, I'm good. I'm good, can't complain.
That's good.
Yeah.
When's your birthday?
15th of February.
I know that already.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Just a few hours. I was born at 5:30 in the morning on a Monday.
After the love came Dennis Okari.
My mom could just have pushed up a little bit.
Kidogo
tu. Ningetokea hivi saa 6 on 14th. We were born in the month of love.
Yes. Well done.
But tumejaa mapenzi tu yani. We can't stop but loving.
Bless you.
We just
bless you.
We bless. We love.
You have to close your eyes when you say
bless.
You have to visualize the blessing, you know?
And you were born in that, you can't help it. You have too much love to give.
You have too much.
Ndio inasumbua watu.
No hate. Inasumbua watu roho.
Sana. Ndio tuko.
Unajua sasa mapenzi ni sabuni ya roho.
Kabisa. Baada ya pesa.
It's the soap of the heart.
Yeah.
After money. Ego.
Ati after money.
Ego. Kudi.
Try go say nakupenda bila pesa. Utapata tab sana.
Mtakuwa na shida.
Utapata tab sana.
Pesa alafu mapenzi. Si mapenzi alafu pesa.
Ni pesa alafu mapenzi.
Hapo ndo tuko.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. This is a Situation Room. As you can see, Dennis and Dennis are in fine form this morning and getting into it. Sawa, you guys, tutarekebisha sawa, poleni bas, making it to have those intros not so long. These are things that we fix along the way. Sindio? All right, and we take caution as we do. Have you guys seen Lydiah this morning? Her dimples are dimpling properly.
She's glowing.
I'm telling you. You know what? You know dimples actually, there's this people with dimples. So I have one. Lydia and my sister has
You have one
dimple. Yeah.
Oh yeah. By the way, what happened to?
My sister has dimples like Lydia. These people with dimples, when they smile, your heart can just drop in a good way. But dimples are actually a defect.
Yeah.
Here's some of those useless pieces of information. Dimples are actually a defect whereby a part of the jaw or something does not connect with the other, so there's a hole.
Yeah, I think it's the nervous system.
So there's a hole right here, and so then when you smile or speak, the indentation is very clear. So it's actually a defect that we've turned into what is like a beauty symbol. That so much so that people go get surgery to get dimples put in. I'm telling you, people go and get surgery to have the hole created so that they can have dimples.
Because they equate dimples to what?
Beauty. It's beauty. It's really so somebody with dimples when they smile at you, their smile is so much brighter, isn't it? Let Lydia come and smile at you just now if you will not smile as a result.
Yeah, the defect is meant to confuse. I think
it's actually a defect. It is. Like my son, when he was born, my son came out and that cry, and his dimples were just there. And I was like, there it is. This one is going to confuse somebody's daughter tomorrow.
How old is he today?
He's 9.
9. Oh my God.
They're not ready.
Your neighbor is in trouble.
Big problem. So they're like, Lydia, these people. We see you.
We know you.
I also hear there are dimples elsewhere.
There are other places. Yeah. It's true. Those are also defects, but people actually look for them as well. And I know the exact one that you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh. He up on my beggar. This big one.
Oh, that's the one you're talking about. Get out.
No, they call it a soap dish.
The clavicle.
The people also see that as beauty.
As beauty.
So in Europe, you'll find women who have the bigger the soap dish, the better you look and the more beautiful you are.
My grandmother would look at you and call you sick. Unakondea nani?
Go and eat.
Go eat. African mothers believe you bring a woman home. They used to believe you have to bring a woman who my grandmother used to say, I can't say it in Kisi, that expression. Let me explain the expression. The expression is like, when the woman walks to our house, everyone needs to know the woman has arrived.
Yes, sir.
By the way she steps.
That's
like you are
her gait.
A heavyweight. Unakanyaga, but you bring featherweight. Atashika sufuria the sufuria of firewood. How are you going to wash them? Well, they never envision there will be dishwashers.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they will watch as you're washing how your hands, are they soft, are they hard?
How do you carry yourself?
Yeah.
Such thing.
With long nails, but then you can't make the bed. You have to use a mwiko to tuck in the bed sheets. Because you don't want to spoil the nails.
Or you call a harambe to help you lift the mattress.
Gosh, we can go on and on and on and on.
I know, we can go on and on with this stuff.
Yes, but dimples also can traumatize. Like in this city, the people are traumatized.
Unfortunately, there are dimpled people who are causing some people some stress. We shall not mention any names. You have just said this city.
Yes.
Hapo ndio tunaacha story.
E-town.
The Situation Room this morning will have some interesting conversations. Just letting you know what some of those will be. So you know what? My phone decided to take a sleep for the next 2 minutes. So maybe you can let us know what those conversations are, Dennis.
Oh, yeah. So conversations that we'll be having today pretty much border on matters to do with health, right? So at 7 a.m. we shall be having Duncan Madenge, MP Nyeritan and a member of Health Committee, together with Reverend Joseph Kariki, who's the Vice Chairperson, Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association, RUFA. And what are we talking about? 1 year on, what's working and what's not. It is a conversation that has been taking the country on the edge, pretty much just asking, where are we with our health system? Then we go all the way to 8 a.m. where we will be having Dr. James Nyoro, former Governor, Kiambu County, where we shall be having discussion on county healthcare management. What's the way forward, especially when you talk about Kiambu County and the situation there, doctors being on strike over 100 and what days now? almost 180 days.
No, it's about now. I think that was 127, 130. We're probably going to around 138.
138 days with doctors not being in hospital. And later at 9 and 10 a.m., we shall be having the Spice Barasa experiences with healthcare and SHA over the last 1 year. Discussion that we shall be having just where are we with SHA and healthcare in the country.
That's what it looks like this morning, and just getting it together so that final conversation will be with all of you today, and we'll get into it proper. Okay, so why didn't I charge my phone? That's the question.
Yeah, meanwhile, remember, today we also have the proverb, right?
Yes, we're in
Togo.
Togo,
yeah, the proverb. It is better to walk than curse the road. It is better to walk than curse the road. Okari, how would you interpret that?
It is better to walk
than curse the road.
Well, it speaks of effort, right? It's better to you know how they say, complainers end up doing nothing. So you'd rather do something, put in some effort, put in some work in whatever it is that you're doing, rather than complain that things are not working. It speaks of where we are as a nation, honestly speaking, because I was having conversations with some individuals, and we're just looking at the state of our country, and then it hit us. Every morning, the kind of topics we discuss here, they tend to make you feel, wait, we actually are in a very hopeless place, and they're very, very depressing in nature. But then you take a step back and you're thinking, okay, so if this is the way the country then is, okay, what's my share? What can I do from my end that will then keep me staying positive? Is put in a little effort in either your business, whatever it is, the little you get is just being appreciative and thankful for the little that we have as we anticipate for the big, big things. So rather than curse everything around, curse the country, at times, what if we start speaking positive? Like you're speaking into the future. Not speaking about now. You're speaking into the future that, wait, there's hope. This generation will not just die without education, or without knowledge, or without health. Our mothers will not die of cancer. You just speak then into the future. And so it's putting that effort and deciding, I'm going to change my mindset. I'm going to think differently. True. Though the things are looking bad, let me not curse all the time. Let me bless. Look at you looking at me.
It had to come.
I sound like a preacher this morning.
There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I'm absolutely inspired, for sure. But I imagine that if it was not the road, the solid thing that held you, look at the other options that you have. You could be carried away, and this is just practically speaking. You could be on the water, you could be in the air, dangling about with no kind of foothold. So this road, no matter what it is a solid platform for you to be on. So you'd rather use it than imagine what something else would be, because you could be lost at sea or carried away by the wind. So we ought to be able to use what we have to the best that it can offer. That's what I would say. Yeah,
so pretty much it's like Okari said, it's all about effort. So I'll just give you an example of farmers in Nyandarua. Every day they go do their thing. Whenever it rains, as much as the roads are destroyed and whatnot, they still carry their wares, they still carry their produce and end up in the market. So instead of complaining about that road, fine, this is where I am, little obstacles, but still I'll achieve what I want, So let's keep on. My high school teacher would say Japan. You know what Japan means?
It's a country in Asia.
No. In his context. So when you take a matatu, see that pole? It's called Japan. So that those who are sitting there comfortable. So you and your obstacles, you're standing, but you still end up at the same destination. So you Japan your life all the way.
Interesting. Well, it's called Japan.
According to him. I don't know why he called it Japan, but
I also wonder why.
I do too.
I give you my power bank? You're good now?
I mean, it's a long story. I have a power bank. Look,
it's also not charged.
No, I didn't even try it. It's just that I think
the power bank has no charge.
No,
the phone has no charge. And you're carrying them in your bag.
No, wait. I think I sat on the phone. So you know how certain phones... No, not like that.
Okay.
Oh, God. You know how certain phones, like when you try to open the thing with the code and maybe it's touching on something else. So the phone locked. So now it's just opened.
Okay.
Anyway, good morning, Robinson.
You sat on the phone, it locked.
Or it was in my pocket or whatever.
Okay. Technology.
Yeah. People are not serious. I'll tell my mother that you guys are harassing me. I'll report you to Mrs. Okoh. Robert Tibogot is tuned in from Mombasa this morning. DJ Hunk254, I love it. Good morning to you. Isakale says, good morning, dew on the grass, grace on your path. May today whisper peace and roar surprise. Asante sana, and very good morning to you. Hisa Daniel says, good morning. Agola, good morning. We see you. Pole sana. Hello, Princess Ndu, Dennis and Aseto. This confusion about the Ryla health or otherwise is very interesting. Managing politics or managing the situation. One say pray for him, the other say we talked. Well, that's like I said yesterday. If he's unwell, we pray that he gets better. If he's not, then we keep him moving. That's what I'm saying. It shouldn't be a long debate here. Josh Willie says, good morning. Gerard Sakwa, we're here. Must go. Hey, your name is Must Go. Sawa Basi, we've come. Erica War says, good morning, guys. Good morning. Yes, it was long. King Dave, good morning. Who's Roger Miller? Geraldine Cheng says, good morning.
Roger Miller is a song.
Oh, it's a song?
It's a song by Pepe Kale.
Okay.
You know Pepe Kale?
It must be Congolese.
Yes. So he had a song, a very popular song, Roger Miller.
Was it like 11 minutes long?
Let me confirm. Could be better. 11 or 13 minutes.
Oh, 13 minutes. Yes. One of those. You dance into the transition and then you keep going. By that time, okay. I get it. One of those. Geraldino Cheng says, good morning, Spices. Another lovely day on terra firma indeed. From Bonnie Lake, Washington, Joe Mungai is tuned in and says, yesterday's debate about money laundering made me wonder if we'll have a country in the future if this insanity is allowed to continue unabated. Oh, good question, isn't it? And I'm telling you, there are many things that happen that you're really not sure where they're coming from. That was one of them. Tibbs Muge says, good morning. Yesterday's conversation with Otieno was missing the charity talk. Can't wait for episode 3. It's coming. Not to worry. Festus Mulu says, good morning. We had rains in Machakos at night. You say that like it's a foreign thing. Okay. It's we know it's Upper Ukambani. But
there are certain parts, when it rains, it's a blessing.
It's a blessing. It's a rarity. Yeah. All right. And Wamuida says, good morning, Team Spice. Aseto share a birthday. You share a birthday with my son.
Nice.
Yeah, so both of you are like that. Wambua, can we get down to serious business? Like what? Tell us. Christina A says, good morning. Stanley Gasha says, good morning. Madam Ida said, leave my boy alone. Her boy being Raila Odinga. Oh, her boy. Jeffrey Nicholas says, good morning, Spice family. Good morning to you. Peter Mbothia says, good morning, lady and gentlemen. Afghan Chaudhry tuned in from Malindi, and Jimmy Monothi is in Naivasha this morning and says, good morning. Mkwama, sister, good morning. How are you? Good morning, D&D and TSR fam. Good to have you in the room. And she's closely followed by Mtuflani. I have a question. Mkwama and Mtuflani, have you guys ever met? Or do you meet in these streets? Have you guys ever met or do you know each other? I would love to know that. Victor Nyali says, good morning, tuned in from Wundanyi. Where is that? I want to know where Wundanyi is. Do you guys know where Wundanyi is?
Somewhere in Coast. I just don't know where exactly. But
okay. Herbert Shizukane says, anyone with dimples should be considered physically disabled? No. It's not a disability, it's a defect. Karanja Tony says, good morning, tuned in. I'm with you in Udhiru. Have a good day. Good morning to you too. Bwangi Juma says, I celebrate this customer care week. Oh, that's the thing. So anybody that sees you today as you are a customer, they should be greeting you properly. Roll out of the red carpet. Say, oh, my hallowed client.
Like what you're doing right now.
Exactly. This is customer care week, guys. Yeah. And we're looking into it properly. You're happy with that dimple story? Tomorrow I'll give you another fact or information that you didn't know. Like when you were away, Dennis, I told them that a strawberry is actually not a berry because its seeds are on the outside. A banana actually is in the berry family. Did you know that? It is. A banana is a berry. Okay. But we can keep it moving, and I know people are going to want to go crazy. People, it's too early to talk about dimples on some parts, but why, Sakale? Never too early. George Okoh says, good morning to everybody. The president just donated 50 million shillings for church and no capitation for schools. Don't even get me started, man, before coffee. Bill Kak Orwa says, good morning. It means that instead of complaining about challenges or blaming a situation, it's wiser to take action and move forward, even if the path is tough. In other words, progress. No? Yes. Joe Botena says, good morning, DND. Can't wait for the constructive conversation. Thank you so much for being here. CPA Ray says, salams from Ontario. Good morning. Anne Purnell is still pondering about Japan. Me too. I'm wondering how that poll in the Matatu is called Japan.
I'll ask Mr. Ruri.
Ask Mr. Ruri if you can reach him on the phone. By the time it's 10, we'll tell you.
Okay.
So no. Ian Zulu says good morning from South Australia specifically. Duke is here this morning. Good morning. And you say Maraga the 6 is our answer. Sindo. Moscow said updates on Okoh bus accident that happened yesterday at 6 p.m. That was horrible to see. We'll give you some updates this morning. Paul Njeki is also tuned in from Vaughan in Ontario. Habari Zenu Hapo Spice from Mogadishu, says Brother Eric. And Ambassador Beja is tuned in this morning from Paddington. You know, you can't say Paddington. You have to say Paddington. You pad slowly. The sisters, good morning. Kenya is a drama scene. Good day. Wow, okay. My Prince says good morning. Wishing everybody joy and prosperity. Amen. Peter Kiari is tuning from Ambassador this morning and says, once you carry your own water, you will learn the value of every drop. Indeed. Patrick Jeru says, Guten Morgen, liebe Lut, tuned in this morning. Wunani is in Taita Taveta. You were right. Aseto, somewhere there. Okay, people are telling us now it's in Taita Taveta. Asante, it borders Kilimanjaro. Mkwama, you're greeting Mtuflani. Thomas Osoro says, good morning. Have a wonderful Wednesday. Asante sana. Wambua says, serious business like inviting an expert to discuss the psychology of a Kenyan politician. All right. That's serious business. All right. Okay. Thanks, guys, for tuning in this morning. Always great to have you in the room as we get into things, and these conversations are absolutely necessary. This is the Situation Room. Forgot to tell you, if our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X, our audience on KTN, good morning. Karibu sana as we get into the show, wherever you tuned in to radio around the country, in the region, and indeed the world. This is the Situation Room, and we're getting into it this morning. On the headlines this morning, I'm going to start with the Standard, Kenya's bold newspaper, headline there. Not our heroes. Kenya's national honours, once a badge of integrity and service, are now mired in controversy. A new shortlist of 60 nominees for state awards has triggered outrage after it emerged that several contenders, among them MPs and senators once accused of corruption, hate speech, fraud and even murder, are being considered for top decorations. Critics warn that the system meant to celebrate patriotism and heroism risks being reduced to a reward scheme for the politically connected. Of course, it follows with a pictorial. Kimilili, Member of Parliament Didmus Barasa is there. William Kamket, Tiati MP is there. Fred Kapondi, Mount Elgon MP is there. And John Waluke, Sirisia MP, is also there. Do with that information as you would. I've told you. Medics strike, families mourn, dead children. I cannot resonate with this. Okari, even as we would look for the positive, I'm sorry, but any situation that can save a child and then doesn't, I find it very, very, very difficult to resonate with that.
Totally agree.
I cannot. That children, especially when something could have been done to save a child, this child is innocent. They do not partake in any of the circumstances that brought about their death. You know what I'm saying?
We have modern day pharaohs.
Come on.
These are modern day pharaohs.
Come on.
Who've decided to weaponize systems to kill their own.
I find it very, very, very difficult to reconcile with a system that's quiet when children, the most innocent of them, are dying. No,
it's a very dangerous path.
I can't. Shah faces collapse over 76 billion shilling hospital debt, and lawmakers are warning now that, guys, we need to look into this thing. Members of Parliament, especially in the Health Committee, are having a conversation and are summoning folks to the House to talk about it. Court of Appeal affirms check on spouses eyeing riches in marriage. If you are coming for me for my money, for my ego, the court has confirmed a judgment that spouses who give nothing to a marriage should walk away empty-handed. You don't bring a thing, you live like that, the way you have come. That's what the court is saying. And it's going now to the appellate court. So they're going to probably stamp a further judgment on that. Questions linger over the integrity of nominees listed for state awards. Of course, that comes in. Students stuck as dons clash over 7.9 billion shilling dues. Just in case you were wondering, university lecturers and staff are still on strike. And they're saying, boss, this thing is not a come and go story. Pay us and we come back. There's no other way. That's the way we're going to deal with it. And we're still looking at coming into the semester where students went back to school. We know some universities are trying to call students back to school, but then they're saying, come back to school to do what? Lecturers are not lecturing, so what are we going to do? There's that story, bothers me some quite, on page 9 of the Standard. Agony for families after losing newborns amid doctors' strike. And we are being told that there's no strike, that doctors are working. So why are babies dying? That's the question. It's tough, man. Former UN boss fights to recover millions from city politician. Years later, Eritrean sought over 634 million shillings from investment deals. It's a big story. We'll look into that detail later. Over to you, Aseto.
Yeah, let's get to the Daily Nation. And as well here, it's all about SHA now. More pay, but less benefits. Now, here's a pictorial of cancer patients suffer pain of inadequate cover. And cancer patients protesting outside Afya House in Nairobi, where they presented a petition yesterday calling for an improved oncology package under Social Health Authority. Now, 1 year after the launch of the Social Health Authority, which is funded by hefty statutory deductions on workers' incomes, cancer patients are demanding a better oncology package, saying the current scheme is insufficient. Many say they are forced to pay out of pocket for life-saving care. Those unable to pay have had to abandon treatment after exhausting their cover. I actually witnessed this yesterday. I was in town shooting some product, and I saw them really sad. Now, tax waivers, immunity for UN boss Dutch firm. House committee has granted massive tax exemptions and immunity to Dutch firm associated with the Chancellor of the University of Nairobi, Professor Patrick Vakigen. Staff of the Global Center on Adaptation will have immunity from prosecution and enjoy a raft of tax relief while in the country. Now, their spouses, dependents and relatives will be accorded similar perks. Last year, President Ruto appointed the professor and CEO of GCA to the university. Now, secret diaries on Shakahola horror help prosecutors, and handwritten notes by a cult member on events at Shakahola Forest over 8 years are part of the evidence before court in the trial of sect leader for the killing. Like they say, there is no perfect crime. Yes. Inside overseas employment plan for jobless tutors. Now, the Teacher Service Commission is exploring foreign jobs for many unemployed teachers. The policy establishes an updated database of teachers available for jobs abroad. Question is, have we absorbed enough teachers in our own education system before we start sending them abroad? But then again, from the teacher perspective, if I can't get job locally, I might as well go outside. Catch 22. Now, politics. Sifuna camp battles Gachagua project tag. Kenya Moja Alliance, led by ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna, has now attacked impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua for labeling other opposition leaders as state projects. This is part of the conversation that we had with former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, and he threw jabs at Kenya Moja members of parliament.
Not surprised?
Yeah. Okari, unanini?
Well, let's look at the Star very quickly. The headline, Fresh Land Payout Scandal Hits Mega Ketraco Projects. This story reads like a movie. At least 4 billion in compensation remains unpaid to landowners. But shock on you, there is some money that has been paid to some individuals as top-up money.
For what?
Nitakwambia tu. Hivi karibuni. Cancer patients protest inadequate SHA coverage. Cancer patients and caregivers yesterday presented their grievances at the Social Health Authority offices in Nairobi yesterday. Yes, that was yesterday. Lawmakers back enhanced proposal for school-based ID registration. So a parliamentary committee has backed a proposal seeking to boost funding for the National Identification Card drive targeting secondary schools. Members of the National Assembly's Budget and Appropriation Committee say the initiative will fast-track the issuance of national IDs to students reaching 18 years, therefore easing future voter and service registration. And then government to shut rogue sites and social media accounts. So MPs have endorsed the government move to tighten Kenya's digital space through a far-reaching law targeting cybercrime, online child exploitation, extremist content, fake news, identity theft, and SIM card misuse. So the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Amendment Bill 2024 is in its final stages. This is a must read, by the way. There's some interesting things in there, some very good proposals. For example, the pulling down of content that is harmful because the bill also grants courts authority then to order deletion of content from social media. Then AG is set to launch legal aid centers across the country. There's a tragic story here of an elderly man who died at court during hearing of his case. A man who had the matter pending before the Environment and Land Court in Bungoma died on Monday morning within the presence of the Bungoma law courts. According to a statement from the judiciary, the elderly man, who appeared visibly unwell, was brought into the court compound around 9 a.m. on a motorcycle. Court officials said he was immediately attended to by a customer care officer who issued him a priority card, a document given to elderly persons, expectant mothers, persons with disabilities, and the sick to ensure they receive expedited services. Unfortunately, he said he's waiting for his lawyer, and he went to the grounds, kupumzika kidogo, and then when they went to check on him that his case was next, they found him dead. I'll tell you this Ketrako story a bit later, but let me move on to this other story. So, repaint or close. City orders house owners. So the Nairobi City County Government has issued a final 14-day ultimatum to property owners, tenants, and management agents to repaint and clean their buildings or face penalties, including closure and prosecution. In a public notice signed by Acting County Secretary Godfrey Akumali, the county directed that all buildings within the Central Business District here in Nairobi, Westlands, Upper Hill, Ngara, Kirinyaga Road, and designated shopping centers must undergo immediate repainting within 14 days and sanitation to meet housing and public health standards. The notice warns that failure to comply constitutes a contravention of the law and will trigger statutory closure orders and legal action. This notice takes effect immediately and shall remain valid for 14 days only. Failure, neglect, or refusal to comply within this directive will lead to closure orders. City Hall announced that fees for repainting permits have been waived for the 14-day period. So you don't need to get a permit then to do it, because previously you must pay to get a permit to paint your building. You just can't wake up and decide you're painting your own building.
So interesting, isn't it?
Let me tell you, you need to read the city bylaws. Yeah. You will find some very, very interesting things.
So the bylaws are like you can't cut trees, you can't do so many things.
A lot of things. There's a time you can't wash your car. You know how people park their cars outside your gates and you are washing your car? It's illegal.
What do you mean?
According to the bylaws, you shouldn't be doing that. Yeah. You can't just now you're parking your car outside, somebody is washing your car outside your gate. You can't even paint your gates.
Wow. Okay.
You can't keep chicken in your homestead. The chicken that you're talking about.
Wait, so it was against the law?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me this before? Do you see now? Why didn't you tell me before? This chicken that was tormenting us for months. So somebody made it soup.
Shouldn't have chicken. The bylaws are very, very interesting. So Kenya Power posts 24.5 billion profit for the year ended June. The firm's board has recommended a final dividend of 0.80 per ordinary share. What Okona shares Kenya Power? Mesikia maneno. So, 5 siblings fight in court over where to pray for mom's body. Pro bonus driver found with 11 stab wounds near JKIA.
Ouch.
I think I'll come to... Do I come to this story later? This is a fresh land payout, or I do it now?
Yep.
Do it now.
Okay, let me do it quickly. So now, 4 billion. How much?
4 billion.
4 billion of unpaid money. Findings are revealing how unscrupulous officers may have transformed the vital public process into a multi-billion shilling cash cow. So forensic audits has laid bare the plunder, financial impropriety and mismanagement in the compensation of thousands of Kenyans whose land was acquired for major energy projects. There was a time when people were actually notified and were told that, look, there are power lines that are going to pass through here. So what you're going to do, because you go kwa shamba yako, we have to mpaka itapita hapa. But then we're going to compensate you. And a lot of landowners are saying, okay, fine, if you're going to compensate me, let's look at the value of my piece of land. Kama mnanilipa, ni sawa. See, that was the deal.
Yeah.
So the findings now reveal how unscrupulous officers and well-connected individuals may have transformed the vital public process into a multi-billion shilling cash cow. Auditor General Nancy Gadongo, September 2025 report scrutinizes 7 donor-funded electricity transmission line projects implemented by KETRACO. The report has uncovered a web of irregularities where at least 4 billion in compensation remains unpaid to landowners. They have already given out the land for the power lines, but they are still looking for their payments. Now, while millions more was squandered through overpayment. So there are 2 issues here. One, there is 4 billion in compensation that remains unpaid. The second issue is while more millions were squandered through overpayments, fictitious claims, and blatant violations of procurement and financial laws. So how did this happen? So the 7 projects, including the high-profile Ethiopia-Kenya and Kenya-Tanzania power lines, were intended to boost regional power trade and stabilize the country's main grids. Now, instead, the Auditor General tells a sad tale of how the very people meant to benefit from the development were left in limbo. So the exploitation plays out across all the projects, putting on the spot the National Land Commission, the implementing agency KETRACO, and the Energy Department. So in Ethiopia-Kenya line, for example, KETRACO paid 8.3 million to 7 landowners for parcels of land that were no longer affected by the final transmission route. So the real owners were not paid. But you remember when they were doing the feasibility studies, so today, inakaa itapita kwa shamba yako. But then as they're doing the study, they realize, no, let's reroute this to somebody else's property. So you'll not be a beneficiary. So there is no point to continue doing what you're doing. But there are people who are paid money whose land was no longer affected. Now the line had been rerouted, yet the compensation once paid was never recovered. There is no evidence of any effort to reclaim the public funds. At the same time, dozens of landowners along the Ethiopia-Kenya line received unexplained second payments, dubbed top-ups.
For something that you were not supposed to be compensated for in the first place. They even gave you more money.
No, you have been paid, but there is a second payment that comes.
Okay.
For what?
24 million.
For what?
It's a top-up.
It's a top-up.
Top-up for what?
For top-up. I wish I could tell you for what.
You deserve it. For being patient. Or for giving us your land.
Tunashukuru sana. Ulitupatia shamba tukaweka line ya stima. So tunakuongezea top-up.
What was the name of that monkey in The Lion King? Rafiki. To have that moment when he needed to just breathe for the world to calm down for a minute so we can get off. There was no 24 million shilling that was paid to people who own that land. That 24 million shillings is the same idea as ghost schools and ghost workers. It was paid to somebody, but it had nothing to do with the people who had that land.
So 4 billion that was essentially supposed to be paid to Undu Okoh because the line is passing through your piece of land. You never received that money. Now, Aseto here, who offered this piece of land, na Stime Kapita. So you are given 1.8 million. That's the value of your shamba. 1.8 million. Then later, these guys are like, you know what? Wacha tukupige top up ingine 1.8 million.
Ndio nakwambia, ende ulize Aseto kama alipata yo top up ya 1.8 na atakwambia onge.
In explanation, they will say his land was infested with a lot of, what do you call it? There was a potential for clean water, so
But you see, that's the explanation in the books. But what I'm telling you is that you didn't get that 1.8. But in the books, it says we topped up Aseto 1.8 million, and here is the payment, whatever. But the money actually never went to you. This is the problem. Because now, when you look at the records, according to what Nancy Gathongo is saying, this extra money was paid, 24 million. On why are we paying again? See, you've passed through. You have already built, or were you taking it down and building again? So number one, why is a top-up being made? Who's asking and doing the interrogation in terms of why are you topping up? What is the purpose of this top-up? Number one. Number two, can you verify undeniably that money actually went to the top-uppies? Is that what you say? The top-uppies.
You know what you've explained is exactly what has happened. It's just that it's not difficult to compute these things. So it's exactly. So the top up, there's a likelihood aijafikia Aseto you top up. No, the top up is yours. This thing is waso. It's bad. It's bad.
You know the saddest part is you look at the value of the land is 1.8 million. So how come the top up again is 24 million?
Me, I'm asking you, did they go back and come back again? Oh, just
anyway.
You were saying it gets worse.
In the Ethiopia-Kenya line, only 157 out of how many? 2,638 parcels were physically valued. 157 out of 2,600. Now, the criteria for selecting the samples and the methodology for extrapolating the values were never provided. This opened the door for massive and untraceable manipulation of figures. For example, the sampling fraud in the Ketraco cases had direct consequences on some of the projects. In the Kenya-Tanzania project, 58 parcels of land were overvalued by a staggering 133 million. So somebody decides, this value, tunaona hii shamba yako is a quarter of an acre ama ni 1 acre. Tunaona hii shamba yako, the real value would be, let's say, 3 million. They'll say, hii tunaona ni kama 16 million. Yes, mnaona 16 million. Tuweke kwa kitabu, 16 million. So, they put 16 million. There is nobody who does any checks or any balances.
Yeah.
The corruption has gone to the high heavens.
To the dogs. I'm telling you, there is no way you can ask anybody to reconcile with something like that. You guys, we had a woman who sat on this stage, and if you cannot make the connection between corruption and the lack that you see in society, then there's a problem. Somebody can come and tell me, oh, Ndu, why are you making noise? That's land parcels over here, and this is education over here. No. It's all connected. Or that somebody can't afford a hospital bill, or that we can't see that we can have proper roads, infrastructure that's leading farmers from, market to, from farm to market. These are the things that we are talking about. That in the light of corruption, look at the things that suffer. So yes, there's a direct line you can draw between somebody who is topping up 24 million shillings that's unnecessary, that didn't go to that individual, and a woman who cannot send her son to school to sit Kepsea in the next 1 week because she owes 33,000 shillings. 33,000 shillings is what she owes. And here there are people paying themselves 24 million, 133 million shillings. And you want to tell me that you'll be okay?
You know how serious you can be implicated. Let me tell you how serious this thing is. There is a group of people. This is another case within the same report. Payments were made without acceptance or agreement. So they write to you, Ndu, do you accept to sell off your land for this project? Yes or no? So you're given an offer letter. So you have to accept it or reject it. Now, in this case, 17.8 million was paid to 65 individuals who had rejected offer letters.
Wait.
So this is what it means. Payment was made without the acceptance and without executed agreements.
So I didn't even accept this money that you're
But the money was released.
But now, so did it get to me?
Did it get you?
You know how it is. Give me a copy of your title. So see, I have your documentation.
Right.
I've sent you an offer letter. So you are rejecting the offer letter. I will decide, you know what, tutalipa hata kama.
Yeah.
The payments are made. Now the question is, did this money get to those?
That's what I'm telling you.
People, because money has been released.
Now, on the back of that, that's why you understand what I'm saying. Even this top up, if the number one money did not reach, is it top up that will reach?
If agreements did not reach, you
come
think top up will?
on. If somebody declined a payment because of whatever reason, then you want to tell me I paid by force, then now there's another opportunity for me to get more money, then I come and pay you by force again. You think that person accepted? Man, jeez, man, I don't know. Mr. Aseto.
It is sad. So let's look at this story of Mackenzie, right? So, missing Mackenzie followers' diaries spill Shakahola's secrets. Despite his appearance in the wilderness, a journal kept by Moses Kahindi during his time in Shakahola Forest is now proving crucial in helping the prosecution understand events that unfolded before the tragedy became public in April 2023. Mr. Kahindi had been a member of the Good News International Church led by preacher Paul Mackenzie since 2008. His sons, Mr. Jimmy Mganga and Mr. Samuel Mwavita, described him as a meticulous record keeper who documented every aspect of his life in the forest. Now, his notes contained in 4 books and several papers have been handed over to the prosecution and the police investigating the Shakahola massacre. On Monday, Mr. Mganga and Mr. Mwavita appeared before the High Court Judge Diana Mochachi in Mombasa. They confirmed that the handwriting in the diaries was their father's. They said he vanished after writing his final wishes in the forest. And they say, my father kept records of church activities from March 2015 to March 2023. Mr. Mganga testified during the hearing in which Mr. Mackenzie and 30 followers are charged with murdering 191 children. One diary shows the time when Mr. Kahindi and members of his family left their home in Sosobora village, Malindi sub-county for Shakahola. The dates and subheads were written neatly under the guidance of Senior Assistant Director of Public Prosecutions, Jamia Maina. The court was informed about some of the entries in the diary that were released, that were relevant to the case. So it is a question of prosecution now going after Mackenzie and using information that was from one of the men who starved to death.
I'm surprised they were allowed to keep diaries.
Yeah, me too. Very
But
surprised.
Kahindi is one of the main suspects.
Yeah.
So you even have time to write and diarize the craziness and the madness
While
that was
you were
going
doing
on
it.
while you're doing it.
Yeah.
And you still... This thing, I think, will be serialized into a movie or a series by somebody.
Somebody's probably already working on it right now and is already,
Yes.
probably talking to J.J. Abrams.
Because as this man pens this down, he paints the real picture of what is happening in the forest, as 100 and something children die and all that. It's documented.
Oh, hang on. So this documentation is by one of the suspects? Is by one of the charged? By one of the charged? Or who wrote this?
Moses Kahindi.
And he's one of the suspects?
He's one of the suspects?
Is he, or who is this Moses Kahindi?
I think he's one of the people who are in the forest.
He was in the forest,
Yeah.
but he's deceased.
Yeah, because I think he's deceased because here it is said this man. Yeah. Because they're saying these was the last things he wrote before his final words.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he's not the perpetrator.
I think there's another Kahindi.
Okay, so this particular one is not it's not one of the perpetrators per se.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the diary of Anne Frank, that he was
Yes.
writing down the things that they experienced while they were under this, persecution, torture.
Yes.
However, it's interesting because there's a book, I need to bring it for you guys. It talks about actually the operations or the life of a would-be psychopath and the things that they do. You would be surprised that they're actually very meticulous in nature. So it wouldn't be surprising that they actually document some of the things that they do.
Yeah.
They film it, they write it down, they draw it.
Oh, snap.
It's crazy. Read some of this stuff. You get an interesting understanding of how folks actually operate.
But
This
you know-
one?
Here we're talking about 191 children who died.
Yeah.
And all these have been documented by this man. And you think about it and the prosecution that takes place. And aside from the matter, we just asked, where did humanity go? How do you just sit there as 191 children starved to death?
Whatever we've done to this generation, whatever's been done to those kids and their generation, and now currently what's happening to how you're destroying a country.
Yeah.
It's unforgivable.
It's unforgivable, and it doesn't go unpunished, that's for sure. These are conversations that we're having. We're getting into health conversations this morning. We'll get into it in just a bit. Good morning, 7 o'clock.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Remember to continue enjoying the EPL matches across our radio stations, that is Berur, Radio Maisha, and right here on SpiceFM. A second death of a police officer has been reported at Kiangani Police Station in Trans Nzoia County. Barely 2 weeks after a police officer shot himself at the police station, another officer has been found dead under unclear circumstances. Kiminini OCPD Stephen Mwaniki said the lifeless body of the officer was found after colleagues broke the door to his room within the police station. Mwaniki says the body has been moved to Kiminini morgue as further investigations have been launched to establish the cause of the cop's death. Cabinet Minister, that is, Musalia Mudavadi, has advocated the use of technology and data to improve service delivery in devolved government. Speaking in Busia, Mudavadi said for counties to better implement their economic plans and national and county integration. The use of technology and accurate and verifiable data is among the issues that should be prioritized by county governments.
This is needed to address weaknesses in our devolution framework arising from historical disparities in planning, budgeting, and project management competencies. This program therefore aims to equip county officers with modern skills required for evidence-based planning, robust economic forecasting, and effective application of MTEF. Key outcomes of such intervention include better project identification, effective implementation, prudent fiscal management, and a more attractive environment for domestic and international investment.
Supporting the statement by the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Treasury CS John Badi on his part stressed the need for a robust financial system that will spare Kenya and other African nations from the threat of economic collapse.
The ultimate impact we seek is threefold. First, a financial system that is fit for purpose for Kenya and Africa at large, capable of overcoming the risks and inequalities that threaten our sustainability. Second, enhance economic resilience to protect our economies from external shocks. And third, tangible environmental benefits by safeguarding our ecosystems and promoting nature-positive solutions.
And cancer patients have accused the government of turning a blind eye to their struggles, arguing that the current allocation by SHA falls far short of the actual cost of managing the disease. At present, SHA provides 400,000 shillings per patient annually for cancer treatment, a figure patients say is insufficient to meet the high cost of care. This event comes as a bill has been tabled by the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Gladys Bosch-Sholei, addressing their complaints with the National Assembly Health Committee being urged to take up the matter.
Honorable members, the Kenya Network of Cancer Organization concludes by praying that the National Assembly does the following. 1. Ensuring an enhancement of oncology benefits, which was cut from 600,000 per individual under NHIF to 400,000 per household under SHA. 2. Commissions an independent audit of SHA funds, reviewing benefit structures, creating reforms for fairness and sustainability in cancer care financing, and ensure adequate allocation of funds to the primary health care fund and the emergency, chronic and critical illnesses fund. And 3, makes any other order or direction it deems fit in addressing the plight of the petitioners.
The motion has been supported by the majority leader in the National Assembly, Kimani Ichung'wah, who says the cost of treating cancer and other chronic diseases is high.
Under this fund for critical illnesses fund, the treatment of cancer, diabetes, hypertension, and such other critical illnesses fall under this fund. And therefore, irrespective of how much is provided for under the mainstream SHA package, if we have further resources under the critical illnesses fund, these patients and many Kenyans can be able to access further benefits from the fund, Honorable Speaker. And I want to agree with them, Honorable Speaker, the package as it is today, it may look generous, but the cost of cancer treatment is very expensive, not just in this country, Honorable Speaker, but around the world.
That's the News Wire. I'm Nyamweya Ubaga.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
We look at the utterances of leaders who are aligned to broad-based, who were initially in ODM. We thought they stand for something. Now they've been exposed.
Because we are a third world country, we are poor. And not because we don't have resources, but we have been robbed senseless.
Look at the wasteful expenditure. Look at how large government lives. And we've said this is something that can be controlled. It happens in many other countries.
Internally, we used to stand and tell him, boss, hii kitu ni mbaya. And you'd say, now he doesn't let me tell you, you saw the other parliamentary group meeting. People went there, sat, listened, looked at him. There was no plenary left.
The Situation Room. Kenya's biggest conversation.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, staki kuongea. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the con.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
At 9 minutes after 7 o'clock, this is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation on this. Is it Tuesday? It is Wednesday. Good grief. I find myself to be a little bit confused. But we're here all the same on this Wednesday, the 8th of October, as we're getting into the month proper, the first week of the month already done, and things are happening as though we've been here for a while. And we're getting into another conversation this morning. Dennis Ndu and Dennis with you, and as we get into these conversations, very happy to have you with us. Our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X, and even as you're tuned in different frequencies around the nation, our audience on KTN also here as we continue with these conversations. SHA 1 year on, the questions about what's working and what's not is the conversation that we have this morning. 2 guests to join us this morning, and even as we look into it, there have been many conversations around what SHA looks like, what it works, who it works for, who it doesn't work for. But let's interrogate this a little bit more, because it's been 1 year. October 8th is when we saw the initial rollouts, and October 7th, October 8th is when we saw the initial rollout under a different CS, of course. But now as we're getting into it, it looks like maybe going down the mountain. Let's see. The Reverend Joseph Karaoke is the Vice Chairman of the Rural, Urban and Private Hospitals Association, RUFA. He joins us this morning for the first time in the Situation Room. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Great.
Karibu sana.
I appreciate it.
Good to have you in the room this morning, even as we get into these conversations, and thank you for then making the time to join us to discuss this. You'll be joined in a minute by Duncan Mathenge, who is the Nyeri Town MP. He's also a member of the Health Committee of Parliament, and so we'll be looking at some of these things as he gets here this morning. But we're going to start off just to get a broad understanding, or to be able to deepen the conversation a little bit. But before we do that, we normally go to a different African country every week. Don't ask us how we do it. The law of physics is this is how you apply what your physics teacher said while you were in school. So we get into that country and we come back with their proverbs. Dennis actually does all the legwork, so he's going to share the proverb. We'd love to get your interpretation of it.
The proverb today comes from the Republic of Togo, whose capital is Lomé, and the official language is French. Now, it's a country with a population of around 9 million people.
And its flag colors, green, yellow, red and white, symbolizing hope, wealth, courage and purity. But let's go to the proverb. It is better to walk than curse the road. It is better to walk than curse the road. How would you interpret that?
Wow, a tough one. It is better to walk than to curse the road. I think what it essentially means is that you need to try. Even when the journey is tough, you don't seem to, see a headway, but you need to try, keep moving by any means. Sure.
You need to just keep moving. Well, yeah, that's definitely a way to look at it. Thank you for sharing that with us. We're going to look into brick and mortar issues. Of course, we're going to look at more subjective issues. We're going to look at quite a number of things. And the slogan, and I don't know if it's one that we can or not be proud of, is that over the last, give or take, 6 to 9 months, the slogan has been SHA is not working, right? And before that, there was some confusion, and what we're told is that there are teething problems, of course, in getting a new system in place, then being able to make the shift from NHIF to SHA under the Social Health Authority, and then getting things moving under the Social Health Insurance Fund. And all of these things happening seem to have caused some confusion amongst people. Who does it work for? Who does it not work for? Where can you be guaranteed that you go to get care, and then not have to pay for it after having sorted out your premiums? So these are some of the things that we look at under the 1 year. And then add to this whole basket of what would be confusion. There are very many caregivers, medical providers, medical service providers that are unpaid to the almost 80 billion shillings. And this is from previous debt under NHIF and current debt for services offered under SHA. So this just paints a little bit of a picture as to where we are. An overview from you, Reverend Karaoke, in terms of what it has been. I mean, under RUFA, which is where you sit, what has the last 1 year looked like?
Sure enough, like you have painted a picture, it has not been easy, especially for providers. And when we say providers not being easy, then it affects even the Kenyans out there. We have had many challenges, rightly put. Every time you start something new, you expect some teething challenges. We've been struggling with them, went through them, and we got to a place where we can say that this thing needs to be rolling by itself. But the more we go in, the more we get into deeper and deeper issues that are difficult. And what I can say as at now, where we are 1 year down the line, is that much of the problem is not even systemic, but like they are designed. So it makes it difficult to fix a designed problem rather than a generic one.
When you say it is designed, what exactly do you mean?
What I mean is that towards the end of the year, you find that some of the challenges that we are going through as providers are actually things that we can fix. They are not as difficult as when we started. But it appears like there is unwillingness of some people to adjust so that we can make the bad situation good. Yeah.
You talked about teething challenges.
Yes.
And just like any other project, you would essentially then expect, especially if you have a mass rollout, to get yourself into a number of these issues. Do you feel, because there's been the argument, and I've heard C.S. Dindwale before stating, and even former presidential advisor Moses Kuria before he left, saying that, guys, we acknowledge that there's some challenges, but give us time. This thing eventually is going to work. The idea around it will be the best thing for this country. How long, in your opinion, if you look at the rollout where we are today, are there still issues that should have been resolved a long time ago, or are we backpedaling? We are stagnating. We are essentially not necessarily moving, despite the acknowledgement that there are issues.
Well, there is movement, but the problem is that every 2 steps we make forward, we make 3 backwards. So still there is movement, but it's not progressive. And like we say, we acknowledge teething problems are there when you start something. And all of us gave ourselves to it, the government, the providers, and every stakeholder, to make sure that we fix these teething problems. And we have done that over the year. As an association, we have done our best, including giving feedbacks to SHA and MOH and the government on various things that we feel are not working well. In the 1 year of SHA, we have given 9 feedbacks. In fact, we just released the last one that we call SHA at 1. All these are intended to help the stakeholders fix the things that are not working and keep on doing the good things that are working. Yeah.
So we look at SHA and its implementation and where we are at the moment, and we have to go back to where we started from. So SHA was moving from NHIF, and one would argue that before the rollout of SHA, enough public participation, piloting of the same would have taken place so that we fix the teething problems, and any other thing that would come later would be matters arising. But at the time when these discussions were there, just how invested was RUFA in this system before it was actually launched?
RUFA was very much involved. We have to give credit to government on this. From when it was an idea, when they said we want to shift, and we gave our whole to it. We have participated virtually on every public participation that was there. And we gave our views. We have documents upon documents. And we kept on adjusting and changing, because when again you hear other people, you want to align. And since the end game was to have SHA work, we gave it our best. But the problem is a number of the things we said were never taken into consideration. And you can remember, for example, a statement by the former CS Nakumicha. When this one went through, she actually thanked Parliament for passing the bill as is, without changing even a comma. You know, that statement tells you a lot.
Is it therefore, do we therefore speak from a position where the problems that do exist today are things that had been seen before, attempts to rectify the same had been given, but they were never picked up?
That's true. That's true. If you look, for example, what I remember very fast is that there was a proposal. Since we had 3 funds, ECCIF, that is emergency and chronic illness. We had primary health care, and we had the social health. These 3 funds, the 2, PHC and ECCIF, are government funded. SHIF is the one that we contribute. So we actually propose, why don't you ring fence the SHIF? Since this is a private citizen's contribution, it needs to be, ring fenced such that that money is not used for any other thing. But what are we seeing now? They discarded that, and they started using the SHIF to pay PHC, to pay ECCIF, and that money cannot be enough. The reason why there were 3 funds is because that needed to be distributed as such. And the Exchequer, many times, they have failed to put in their money at the right time. So SHA ends up using the SHIF money. And if that law was there, then maybe something else would have happened.
Okay, so it's clear that over the year, that there have been very, very many blocks to having a process that has been clear, that has been, void of confusion, too many questions. That has riddled the process for a long time. And the former, and we name them because that's who they were. The former CS Nakumicha, she was talking about a new system coming into play before she left the office. CS Barasa at the time came in, and the rollout of SHA then was under her, and it was completely confused in terms of what was going to happen, who was going to go where, who was going to do what. Maybe there seems to be a leveling out of that now under CS Agent Wale. We don't know her yet to see, but maybe things are opening up a little bit. But can we really call them teething problems? I have children, and when we say you're a doctor, you know as well that when teeth come out, they have a little bit of irritation. But guess what? The tooth comes out. The tooth grows at some point, and that irritation period, the bumpy road, the fevers, the whatever, goes away. And we move. Can we have teething problems for a year?
Not possible. And like you you put the chronology of events. Where CS Duale sits today, he actually sits at the most advantaged position any CS for Health ever had. Because the first two actually were the ones that were hitting the rocks. The Nakumicha during the public participation and all those things that were difficult, passing the bills, and then CS Mulongo, in the implementation and launching. Now CS Duale has come in when all these things has been done. Surely he has no reason not to excel in this. That's why I say some of the things that you see him do, you wonder whether it's by design to fail or something. Because all the teething problems are supposed to have been sorted by now. And we need to see this thing taking shape. And one of the ways, simple ways, is by hearing advice and even criticism. Take criticism, look at it, sit down with people, spend your time on boardrooms rather than, behind a microphone, and we needed to have been at a place right now where all of us are agreeing at least on 70-80% of the matters share.
And what are some of those issues we should be agreeing upon? All right, it's clear at this point. If you're paying your premiums of whatever the price should be for if somebody is in employment, 1,000 plus so many shillings per month. Then there's the 300 some people pay. There's a 600 others pay. There's 1,000 plus that others pay, and it kind of goes up. If one of the things that we've heard, and tell me, do you agree with this or not? If we had more people paying their premiums, not just registration, because this is a pooled mechanism, that the system, the authority is based on a pooled mechanism. And it's also based on the understanding that not everybody is going to be unwell to the same degree at the same time all the time. And that's why it works like this. Insurance works like that. So that if we put this money in a pool and we know that some people are going to be sick and going to use that money for whatever the case may be, that we're going to go in this pool where you keep paying in and we keep treating people and it keeps coming back. Now, if you don't have enough people paying, those pooled resources dwindle. And if you have the same people paying over and over again, the likelihood is that you will get people going to medical facilities at some point. And if, like many of the RUFA facilities, you've given services and you've not received money, the chances are that I will come back from that experience saying that SHA is not working without having understood what's going on in the back end. Do more people need to pay for us to see a leveling out of these issues?
Exactly. I should tell you that one of our strong recommendations to SHA is that we should have more people paying. As we stand, SHA is collecting about 5 billion. And the payout to facilities is 9 billion a month. So there is a deficit of almost 4 billion every month. Where are you going to get this money to cover up? So one of our strong recommendations to SHA and MOH was that allow people to register. Yes, now they say we are about 26 million registered. Allow them to register, but go ahead and tell them after you have registered, pay. And because if they don't pay, then the pool will continue to shrink as the numbers increase. So we've told them one of the ways of mitigating this gap of 4 billion monthly is by having more people paying. That is in our recommendation. Another thing that we told them, because much of our problem seems to be finances, we told them remove this thing called proxy means testing. These many questions that you are asking people and then you determine how much they should pay. Once I know that what I am supposed to pay now is much more than what I used to pay under NHIF, I will discard it. Especially when we were told during the campaigns that we will be paying 300 shillings. And then it turns out that I'm supposed to pay 800 shillings. And then it turns out that I'm supposed to pay all of it for a year at once.
Because they were trying to mitigate this thing, whereby look, the thing is, if everybody, let's say the 26 million people, that's about half the population, isn't it? If the 26 million people, and let's just round off a figure and say that 26 million people every month were paying 300 shillings, right? That brings us to about 780 billion shillings. Abi?
No.
Right? 26 million people paying 300 shillings per month. If everybody was paying that amount of money, we would not be having these problems. You know what we would be able to do? It's mind-blowing that everybody would walk into hospital when they needed to, and they would get treatment, and you wouldn't have to pay an extra shilling after this is just 1 month payment, and that you could take care of critical care. You wouldn't even have to do like what this tier 3 is when you're looking for donor funding coming from outside to take care of critically ill patients. That everybody would then be able to do that, so that we could actually see what the money would do. But that doesn't happen. And it might sound like I'm playing devil's advocate here, but I'm trying to understand now why they say pay a year in advance. Because it means that they would have more money in the pool to take care of the folks that need care now. And then to be able to pay people like Rufa. But that doesn't happen. Could that be the reason why they don't pay Rufa?
Absolutely. The reason why they don't pay is because they don't have money.
There it is.
We can't explain it better. And I've just told you one example where you collect less than what you're paying out. No business will survive like that. And from your calculations that you just shared, you will realize that if we pay a specified amount, because we told them remove these proxy means and give a specific figure, like it was during NHIF, it was 500 shillings for a family. That 500 shillings multiplied by the 26, you realize that they will be collecting more than what they are collecting now, almost double. And yet the amount is low.
So 7.8 billion essentially is what they would get if 26 million people were paying 300 shillings a month.
That's 2.8 more than what they're collecting now.
Collecting, right?
Yeah. So, and if we make that our running call every day, the way we are telling people register, and we tell them register and pay, we will not be in this problem for long.
Okay. Now, part of the money that's owed to Rufa, sorry about that, part of the money that's owed to Rufa is not from October last year. It is from NHIF days. What was the problem as per why that money was not paid before? Because it's Rufa today, it's other people tomorrow, it's other medical providers. Why was that money not paid?
First of all, my friend, we have tried to move out from saying there is NHIF debt and there is SHA debt. Because when SHA came in, it took all the assets and liabilities of NHIF. NHIF is now defunded. So all these debts are actually SHA debts. It's only that they were accrued at that time. And one of the major reasons that money accrued from 2017, essentially, is because, number one, the government agencies were not paying their contribution. They were deducting their staff, but they were not submitting that money to NHIF. Take for an example the teachers. They had a special scheme under NHIF, enhanced scheme. The police had an enhanced scheme, and many other parastatals. And when they left NHIF to go to a private insurance, they left that gap there. Essentially, it was running to almost 30 billion. So that is actually where the problem started. We had programs like Linda Mama, which was government funded. We had programs like Eduafia, programs for the indigents and the poor. You know, that was supposed to be paid by the government, which money was not paid to NHIF. So what happened? NHIF then would use the contributors' money to pay for these bills. And that is why we came up with this reasoning that SHA should come up with a law to ring fence the shift contribution under SHA, so that we don't go back to that problem that we had in the last dispensation. And so we see where the problem began. And it didn't begin from the contributor. Neither did it begin from the provider. It began from the government.
Let me ask, is there a point where we need to stop the train from moving? And we say, okay, you know what? let's stop everything. Let's sit down. Whether it's going to take another 1 year, let's see what we can fix. Because from what I'm hearing, there's just mitigation upon mitigation upon mitigation. Now, just the other day, President William Ruto said that the government will pay SHA for 2.2 million
for the indigents.
Yes. So, and I'm just looking at the whole idea, because this is not something that he thought about when, SHA was coming into force. This is an afterthought after realizing, wait, the actually people are not paying, the people are still needy, and we need to keep this thing moving. So what do? Let's take a quick break, and then anybody who wants to contribute, because at some point he actually mentioned an anonymous philanthropist who pledged for SHA coverage for at least 113,000 Kenyans. And the president also was beseeching members of parliament and saying, look guys, please follow suit, support with your finances, support. So it looks like tumingia mchango. So if Aseto has a million somewhere, lying somewhere, please Aseto put that 1 million into SHA. Yeah. If Undu has 10 million, please out of the 10 million, put 7 million into, and any other agency or any other persons who are willing to express their interest in supporting the program. And that for me is a problem, because are we stitching a bandage and like what you call a small bandage on a very big wound? Is that what we're doing?
That's what we are doing, actually. But I should say we need to commend the president for coming up with an idea, albeit late, to take care of the indigents. Even in the Bible, we are told that the poor will always be with you. And so it's good to have an idea, a plan, how we can handle these things. And as much as we loud that effort, there is need for a plan, a design, something to be worked on, how we are going to collect this money and help these people, because it will come from our taxes. It will come from the exchequer. So that idea on how to raise that money is what we need to have a round table and discuss about. And as providers, we have suggested several ideas that we can help, including having something like a health tax. Taxes are too much, but if that is going to help us sort this thing, we can add a shilling in every commodity that we use at home as a health tax, and it will help the exchequer raise money and do this thing. And when we are getting the service, it doesn't matter how many tax we are paying. The problem is when we don't get the service and we are paying the tax.
So, Reverend, I want us to look at the situation at hand, right? So we talk about the debt that Rufa is owed. So there is also patients who come to the hospitals to look for service. But I want to look at the service provider. With this debt, how are you running businesses? Because Kenyan who's seeking service does not understand why these facilities are sending them back home. Just paint a picture as to why you have gotten to the wall that you're no longer able to offer services using SHA.
Well, that's a very good question. And actually, if you would not have asked, I would have asked to answer it. Because we are actually... our back is against the wall, and for us to come and tell the country that we are not able to do this, the country needs to know that we have really tried. We are carrying over 80 billion debt owed to us by the government. That's a lot of money. Every day we find patients coming to the hospital to be treated because their politician or their leader say, register and go to the hospital and you will be treated. Now, when they come to the facility, we do our best. We treat them. But when we treat them, we don't get our commodities on credit. We don't get the latitude of going 60, 90 days credit. Most of our credits, by the way, is 30 days. And so we get to a place where we can't get more credit. We have gotten to our maximum, and we still need to offer this service. We still need these commodities. At the same time, We have our employees that we pay. That nurse, that doctor, that clinician that you come to see needs to be paid at the end of the day. We have some of us rented premises that we have to pay every month. We have loans in the bank. You know, we got some money from the bank to have this equipment, this machine here, so that we can be efficient in our service. We are still servicing this loan. And above all, we have statutory deductions, including SHA deductions. Yeah? And when SHA itself takes 3-4 months without paying, and they are pushing us to pay their own by the 9th, we are really in a difficult situation.
So what happens when, because this thing is so layered. So right now, as you're talking, the government is proposing sweeping legal reforms that will then compel private hospitals to admit critically ill patients in emergency situations. So the amendment then is going to outlaw the long-standing practice that we've seen, where a hospital will then detain bodies, for example, for unpaid bills, or it's an emergency situation, but you're told, okay, do you have an insurance cover or do you have money before we even put you on any bed? So we are seeing this is going on at the same time, this crisis and issues, but then legally there is an amendment that is going to then put all these things into this context. So whether you have insurance or no insurance, you have money or no money, you have to attend to that patient. And still, we're talking about having debts. You can't pay you can't pay your bills because you're owed money. How is this going to work?
It's gonna be difficult, but it can be made easy.
How?
This is one thing. Looking at our constitution. Our constitution says every Kenyan has a right to the highest attainable care of health. The only problem that it doesn't do, and it's not the problem of the constitution, is actually the problem of MOH, is that it doesn't say how that service will be paid. You have the right for the highest attainable healthcare, but it doesn't go ahead. But the Act of Parliament is supposed to do that, to tell how that bill will be paid to the hospital. That is what we want happen. When they bring these bills, we have no problem. And as a matter of fact, RUFA is also preparing our submission for the same. I think it's by 27th or whatever, when we are supposed to go and take our views. We are preparing a document for that.
What are you going to propose, to counter or propose? Because what this bill is then doing is compelling emergency care. It's banning detention of hospitals. And they're saying there's a penalty to this. So private health facilities, as we know, like I said, they insist on cash deposits or an insurance cover. If passed, if this bill is passed, what it then essentially means, hospitals found in violation could face very stiff penalties, including loss of license and prosecution of responsible administrators.
Well, it is important to note that that emergency care that they're talking about is a 24-hour thing. Beyond 24 hours, one is supposed to trigger the insurance if they have SHIF or any private insurance, or pay cash. So that 24 hours is our interest. And what we are proposing is that the government also ought to be bound to place their ECCIF fund with SHA ahead of time, because we never know when an emergency will come. And if there is no way to compel government to do that, then they shouldn't compel the hospital to give that emergency service.
Because it's not going to be practical.
ECCIF is exchequer funded. Yeah. So if you're telling me to attend to an emergency, who is going to pay for that? It's the government. So can we have also an assurance, putting this in consideration, that this hospital is actually a business. We don't get our supplies from KEMSA or from wherever place for free. We actually buy them. So we need to have that fund set before we can pass the bill.
Are you working, as you take your submissions on the same, are you planning to counter that on the basis that as much as this is what the government says must give emergency services, that we also need to have our own statement within that policy that says the government as well must pay within X number of days, and failure to do that, such ABCD actions will be taken?
Actually, that is what should happen. And that is actually what is missing now, which we should mitigate. Because, for example, like I said, we are supposed to pay our SHA deduction by the 9th of every month. By the click of midnight, that money ought to be with SHA on the 9th. When we fail to do that, there is a penalty. And 1 minute after midnight, you will pay that penalty. But what penalty is SHA given when they fail to pay after their 90-day? Nothing. So these contracts and this loss must be balanced. They should not be lopsided. We should look at it at a level playing ground, such that if I don't do this, these are the repercussions. If you don't do this, this should be the repercussion. That is what we should be looking at. And I believe that all the stakeholders now are brighter enough, they are more educated and knowledgeable to push those kind of reforms. And if government is not going to take them, then they should tell us what is their plan.
So where are we now? Because we seem to be, we seem to be going round in circles, and there's no clear direction in terms of how this is going to go. Most recently, we did hear that private hospitals are being asked not to ask folks to pay when they come to the hospitals, but offer them care. That would mean that a payment system had been triggered. But from what we're hearing, that hasn't happened. Has no payment been made to Rufa in the last 3 months? Has no payment happened? Is there no conversation that, okay, we're going to start to chip away at this big block of owed dues?
That is the problem. I really want to say that a number of these issues can be sorted over a boardroom discussion. As we speak right now, we have PHC that has not been paid for August, and now we are actually getting to the end of September. And there are also some counties, some facilities that have not been paid actually from June. And PHC is that money that we are saying, enda kwa hospitali utibiwe and enda nyumbani bila kulipa. That is what is supposed to cover. If that money has not landed in the hospital, all hospitals, for example, for August, it has not been paid. We are now, we have done with, actually it's July, and then August. Now we are in October. That means the September one is also due, and it is not paid. How are facilities going to run?
There's the ultimate question. And joining us now at this point is the Nyeri Town MP, Duncan Mathenge. He's also a member of the Health Committee in Parliament, and maybe got a little bit lost this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
We heard you found your way to the airport.
Yes. For some reason, the pin that was forwarded to me, and in my mind, it was like, did KTN change location? But unfortunately, I've ended up that side.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to be here. Yes.
Well, we're glad that you're here.
Yes.
And you found this in the throes of this conversation. And of course, by the time things, and I'm just going to throw you right into it because, our time's gone. But as a member of the Health Committee, surely this has been right front and center of the discussions that you've been having over the last couple of weeks, and questions as to why we are having such a problem, because one cannot run away from the realities of the issues around the health sector today. One of them being that who then gets care, and for those who are offering the care, who is paying them.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you sit and debate in the lawmaking house, or to make demands, what are you saying in terms of what actually needs to be done?
Thank you. The first thing is, who do we make demands to? The demands we make to all of us as a country. And we have a problem when we keep comparing the new dispensation that is the Social Health Authority, to the National Hospital Insurance Fund. You realize that the Social Health Authority, the equivalent of the National Health Insurance Fund, is just one component of the Social Health Authority. The big question that nobody in this country agreed to address, even during the era of NHIF, was the adequate resourcing so that NHIF could adequately settle the bills that were incurred by its members once they had received services across the country. The second issue is that we had disparities within NHIF. And within NHIF, we had the people who are salaried and are civil servants and public servants and teachers and the police who had what was known as a comprehensive cover against the rest of Kenyans who would pay voluntarily, which was known as the national scheme, where people were paying 500, but who had only literally a bed rebate. Now, it is important for Kenyans to note that the Social Health Authority makes it mandatory for every Kenyan, the roughly 52 million of us, to be provided with health care in compliance with Article 43 of the Constitution. For us to be able to achieve that ideal desire, we must mobilize adequate resources. And SHA attempts to mobilize resources at three different levels. One, the Primary Healthcare Fund, which is funded from our taxes. Under the Primary Healthcare Fund, or PHC, you're supposed to walk into a hospital, level 2, level 3, and selected level 4, and walk out, receive treatment, don't pay a cent, your taxes pay for it.
Which to an extent, and it's agreeable across country, to an extent, and largely, is happening.
Sure.
Right now. Okay. Largely, you can go to level 2, 3, and some 4.
Yes.
And get outpatient care. You come out and leave with certain procedures, and that it pays for everything.
Exactly.
That's happening to an extent now. All right.
Now, but on the other side, you find that then the rebates to the health facilities that are offering primary health care are slightly behind schedule. But all these facilities have a contractual obligation with the Social Health Authority. And to the best of my understanding is that the contractual obligation allows for a 90 days credit period. And therefore, even as the Vice Chair of RUFA says that the money for August is due, it's not 90 days yet, since patients' services were rendered for the month of August. Ideally, if possible, the primary health care services should actually even be paid in advance. But for that to happen, we must mobilize sufficient resources. Our resources are from our taxes. How are we performing on the taxation front? That debate we must collectively have, including the owners of hospitals, and here government owns public hospitals. How do we mobilize sufficient funds for the primary health care fund?
How do we? You're the budget making folks. Where do you get the money from?
We are the budget making house. But we only make the budget based on, one, the revenues that KRA is able to correct. And where we have shortfalls, then we have to go out of the box and either look for funding from donors, borrow, or get grants. In the alternative, and this is a conversation that now is, the time is right for this conversation. can we start raising targeted funds from taxpayers, ring-fenced directly to go towards offering health services.
Separately from what people are being asked to pay every month?
Today, for our roads, we are paying for our roads from the fuel maintenance levy.
And yet, we don't have proper roads.
For our sports facilities, we go to the sports fund. That is the reality of our country. That we have this aspiration and desire to receive the best services that we can get from our government.
Moshimiwa, can we be honest about some things here? Is that even when we talk about funds, whereby road maintenance levy fund, we can talk about that, and we can also look at the state of roads in this country. When we want to look at rural urban roads, when we want to look at highways, when we want to look at the state of roads, and you want to make a comparison between that and the fund that's available every time you put fuel in our vehicles, some of that money is going, and we pay for it. Some of that money is going towards that fund. When you want to look at stadium, don't even get me started on stadium funds, where just the other day we had to float some money in order to put some money into Talanta Stadium.
I have a stadium in Nyeri that is 7 years down the line from the time it started being renovated.
Not finished yet?
It's not finished
well,
yet.
There you go. So what's to guarantee that today we're going to ring fence some funds to put aside for health? What is the guarantee that Kenyans then will be able to walk into hospital, get treated, and not have to pay another cent from there if that money is taken directly from taxes?
You see, when we look at the fuel maintenance funds, for example, it's just a question of whether the money we raise from that fund are sufficient for the road network that we have in the country. And that is the same scenario we have to speak about the health sector. Once we dedicate funds, that the money raised from the taxes is put into a special purpose account, that this money cannot go elsewhere, then the debate around how to oversight and ensure that this money doesn't go elsewhere is easier to have. Without the basket.
I'm sorry, Dennis, because I know you have a question, but can we operate in a reality for a moment whereby I think Reverend Karaoke said before that it's not an issue of people putting the money aside. People don't have an issue if you can actually see that the money that you've put aside is going towards something. If Dennis's cousin or my sister goes to hospital with a bill of 800,000 shillings, there's no guarantee that if we add some taxes, that 800,000 shilling bill will be paid. The money that Rufa is asking for is not just August money, is it? It isn't.
And that is where I want. That is why this conversation. That's where this conversation becomes interesting. When we go to SHA today, and I think seven facilities that are owners and employees are before court for making claims, falsified claims. That has nothing to do with the funding availability. It has to do with our culture as a nation, as a people, as people in the public sector and also people in the private sector. Rufa today cannot be good when they are asking for the money to be paid with the same passion and energy that they are pursuing payment for legitimate services. They must pursue equally to clean up their house from these rogue elements. Out of the fraudulent claims, how many of them are members of RUFA? All are members of the Kenya Healthcare Federation, are members of the Private Hospitals Association, are members of the mission hospitals. And these associations must accept to step up and clean up membership from their house, who then spoil the party for all of us. My last item on this one is also the duality of provision of services by public service employees, doctors, nurses, clinical officers, pharmacists, lab technologists, dentists, who are full-time public sector employees, but they still are providing services in the private sector. Is there conflict of interest?
Mheshimiwa, I want us to talk about NHIF SHA, SHA the way it is at the moment. So we look at a system that has been problematic from the word go. At a point, SHA offices are closed across the country, and information even to get to Kenyans was not there. But we look at, let's take the police and teachers. They used to have comprehensive cover, and that was removed to them so that more funds can get to SHA, right? But even as we talk about that, there is a feeling out here that perhaps those in the August House do not understand exactly what the situation is. And maybe it's about time that even the private members' private insurance would be taken away so that we all get to use SHA. So that the policies that are passed, you get to experience exactly how Kenyans are feeling when they go to hospital and try to use SHA and it's not working. Perhaps as the health committee, that would be one way to go, so that if you, the president, use SHA just like any other Kenyan, perhaps the system would work. No?
And why not? I am one member of parliament who would openly, 100% support that all public sector health financing goes to the same pool for every Kenyan, from the president to my mother in the village. 100%.
Why wouldn't you make that law?
Yep.
The law today.
Why wouldn't we see a bill coming from Parliament today? Somebody raising an issue, a bill of what is it that you call them? Public interest, private members bill.
In fact,
to raise a matter like that, to insist that where we are going is not progressive. That this pool is just like we say they should have one pool for education. All these 1 million bursaries all over the place. Let's have the one for health, and that it is mandated. There are countries that do it, and that has come from parliaments who've decided that there is one bill, just like Aseto is saying. Why can't we see if we can have one Bwana here telling us that we can do this? Why don't we ever have anybody standing up and saying, you know what, guys, enough is enough. Put all this money in one place and it's mandated by law. Everybody gets treated in hospital in Kenya first.
Then Kenyans are not keenly following their parliamentarians.
Tell us.
The Honorable Sabina Chege, the former chair of the health committee in the 12th parliament, brought a motion before the House.
And what happened to it?
Requiring exactly that to happen.
But what happened to
it? Unfortunately, that motion had very little support among parliamentarians.
There's the problem.
And it is on record.
Exactly.
You know the beauty of it? The beauty of it is that Parliament, for every contribution made, the Hansard captures the contribution of members of Parliament when they speak, when they debate. And therefore, I urge Kenyans to go into the records of Parliament and find out who said what during the motion by the Honorable Sabina Chege. So the attempts in the current Parliament to move to that in that direction have been made, but they have not received sufficient
support.
So
the Parliament
by
is eating itself at the behest of the Kenyan people. Reverend Karaoke?
Yeah, sure. I think Mheshimiwa has brought in very important points, and the issue of fraud, very key. And I think that one should dominate our discussion, if anything. But first, let me correct that the PHC fund is supposed to be paid monthly. The other ones, the SHIF and the rebates, surgicals, those are the ones who are supposed to wait for 90 days. So when we talk about PHC delaying, we are actually on the spot. Secondly, we had 1,800 plus files that were taken to DCI. And what we have seen is 7 facilities before court. And even if you take the entire 1,800 files and the amount of money that it is claimed they defrauded, it is under 600 million. Mheshimiwa.
It's still a substantial amount of money.
Yeah, still substantial. But when you look at 600 and what we have lost with ghost hospitals that we do not know the owners to a tune of 24B, we are actually just discussing. But this is what I want to say and say it categorically to the nation, is that RUFA is very committed into fighting graft. In fact, in our 9 recommendations or feedbacks that we have given to SHA, we have an item of fraud on almost in all of them. And we have recommended. And again, to tell the country is that RUFA is the only association that I know that has an anti-fraud policy. That you have to sign some documents against fraud as we join. So that means whoever is a member of RUFA and is involved in fraud, even internally, there is a mechanism that we are going to run to punish them. That is to say that we are supporting the government 100%. And if there is any evidence that will be required from RUFA to prosecute these facilities, we will provide. That's how serious we are with fighting fraud from RUFA perspective. The other part is we are only concerned that the CS or is it MOH are looking like they are bungling the process of prosecution. For example, the CS has taken 1,800 files to DCI, and when we had the 7 in court the other day, the biggest question that was lingering, that was giving them problem in court, was the issue of the Dispute Resolution Tribunal, which is supposed to be formed by the government or MOH to handle such issues. It was a very big subject in court when these 7 were taken to court. And we are asking, who is supposed to form this tribunal? It's government. Whatever mechanism they need to do with judiciary, by now, 1 year on, we ought to have that tribunal in place. This, when the CS has a problem with fraud, he picks files and takes to DCI. When a provider has a problem with SHA, where does he take that file? We need to have an equal level playing field. We need to have this tribunal in place. I know they are saying there is a bill in Parliament to amalgamate all tribunals or whatever, but before that comes, we shouldn't be having a vacuum. We need to have this dispute resolution tribunal running and have everything internally done. Again, why I'm saying that the CS is bungling this process is that every Kenyan or every person is presumed innocent until proven guilty. These facilities have never been given a chance to explain their part until now that they are in court where they are supposed to be speaking. They were just picked, they were listed in the newspapers and all the media houses, and the next thing we see is that out of 1,800, we have 7 in court. We again had all their names, published all over, that they have defrauded, they have absconded, they have done many things, and the public now knows that this facility next to me is actually a fraudster, when they have not even been taken to court. Why I say bungling is that somebody can easily go to a constitutional court and say, my friend, I've already been tried in a court of public opinion. I cannot find justice. You understand what I'm saying? And that the court will hear this person. And so we will end up not getting the fraudster because the process we used to prosecute them was wrong. Yeah. The other thing is the facilities that were suspended, for example, for one problem or the other. And they were suspended for 90 days pending investigation. Today we have about 2 weeks or so towards the end of the 90 days. Up to today, none of those facilities have been given an audit report of what was found in their facility. So how are we handling this matter? Are we really fighting graft, or we are just playing games? We want to support and push our word that we support the war against fraud, and we will not relent, even in the private sector, by the way. Rufa has been having conversation with a number of private insurances that have a problem with facilities. We have had such discussion in Meru. We have had such discussion in Nairobi and some part of Western Kenya. We've called this insurance company and say, yes, there is this allegation. How can we help? And a good number of them have settled this matter, even before going to any dispute resolution mechanism. Just sitting and discussing. And this is what we are advising the government and the CS Duale. Please, it will not cost you much to have 10 people from different associations over a table to discuss these issues, as opposed to having 170 providers at a hotel there. Our tea will not be that much. We will be able to discuss these things and sort them. We will just communicate to our members. We're also telling the CS, and Mheshimiwa is here. The Health Committee of Parliament has summoned Rufa, I think, almost 10 times, if I can remember, if I keep the count. And Mheshimiwa will confirm we have never failed to attend to any of their summoning. We have always been there, and we have given them ideas. We've gone to Parliament several times. We've gone to Mombasa. They call us again and say, can you give us more details on this paper that you presented? And we have always done that. Why is the CS not able to do this? We gave the CS and the country a notice, 14 days, and we had a countdown. Day 13, day 12, day 11, and they seem not to bother. We took our action. Nobody has called us up to now. We are just wondering, are they, or rather is the CS willing to provide a solution to this problem? And that is why I said earlier that the problem we are facing now with SHA are more designed than natural.
Wow. We've gone over the hour, and of course necessary for us to look into some of these things. They are pain points. These are not teething problems anymore.
Yes.
These are actually pain points that are pointing to a deeper problem that of course need to be sorted out, because the outlook looks at this point like if things continue the way they are, that the situation, if anything, is going to get worse. It's good to know that we're looking at payments coming in, even if they're trickling. However, the overall health system really just needs to work for everybody at all times. We're going to continue a health conversation into the next hour. But at this point, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Reverend Joseph Karaoke is the Vice Chairman of the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association, joined by Duncan Mathenge, the Nyeri Town MP, and a member of the Health Committee of Parliament. Hopefully, we'll see you a few more minutes into the next hour when we look at specifically Kiambu County and a number of other things with the former governor, Bwana Nyoro. But thank you both for being here this morning for us then be able to deliberate on some of these issues. Asante sana. 10 minutes past 8. Conversations continue in a bit. Don't go away.
Following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
You have land, Dennis. Yeah. Okay, your own land. You use your own money to build it, and then you sell it to yourself.
But we don't want foreign troops on Kenyan soil.
But surely it goes a little bit deeper. This is it.
If you find the tree is withering, then you call the person who is managing that tree. Come around.
Yeah,
Why? Tell me what is
first of all, what's the problem?
Yes, what is the problem there?
How do we expect ourselves to move forward as a country?
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away people with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
He is himself actually has admitted that he bribed members of parliament, so...
he admitted that he bribed members of parliament?
Well, when he said...
The government.
Yeah, when he said that he gave the 10 million was for what?
We're always quick to point faults in somebody else before you look at your own faults as a person.
If it was Kanu's day, hii amuka naye leo ungekuwa umeenda bali sana hii. So when we must celebrate you.
There are 600 million people now globally estimated to be living with diabetes in the world. So it is a major health problem. It's the largest single disease rising pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 8:15 and our conversations continue this morning, and we still get into them at this hour. We're going to keep looking into issues around healthcare. What is a crisis, whether it's around the country or whether it is per county. And joining us further on into this hour is still member of the Health Committee of Parliament, as well as the Nyeri Town MP, Duncan Mathenge. And he joins us this hour also with Dr. James Nyoro, who is the former governor of Kiambu County. Good morning.
Morning,
Dr.
Jim. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Very well.
Good to see you again. Karibu sana.
Asante.
And we say welcome again
thank you.
to Bwana Mathenge. We are going to look into a number of these issues this morning. You didn't get a chance to interpret the proverb for us last hour, so let's do this now. Dennis will share, and then we'd like to hear from both of you.
So our proverb today comes from Togo, and I'll just go straight into it. It is better to walk than curse the road. It is better to walk than curse the road. How would you interpret that?
It is better to walk than curse the road. But it is better to, it is prudent to pursue the goal despite the challenges that seem to stand in between me and that goal.
Yeah, well said. Victoria?
Whatever your target is, whatever your objective is, it's always good to pursue it, irrespective of the circumstances that are surrounding you. It doesn't always have to be the correct road. The most important thing is the goal that you are pursuing. And you have to do it irrespective of whether the road is good or not.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Well said.
It's true. You have to pursue it regardless of whether the road is good or not.
Exactly.
Let's get it there, shall we? Okay. Let's look at what's been happening for the last 138 days in the country. And we talk about a particular county, but it's the country. because now we're getting into a state where it's agony, and it still is right around issues of health. So it falls right in areas where you operate within Mweshimamandenge, but then also areas where you operated in, and still, from what we see, for all intents and purposes, still will operate in, and that's in Kiambu County, and that's the health situation that we look at. There is an article in the Standard newspaper today, and it's articles that have made its way into all our media across for the last 3 to 4 months. Agony for families after losing newborns amid doctors' strike. The push and pull between Kiambu County government and county doctors is a painful healthcare crisis is unfolding, with expectant mothers and residents lacking access to quality care in public hospitals. For over 4 months now, several families have been languishing in pain as they mourn the loss of their newborn babies, which they attribute to the ongoing doctor strike, now on its 134, Aseto, not 138, sorry about that, but 134 days is what we're looking at now. This is a real situation. No mother or father, no family member is going to lie about the death of their child. If they do, okay. But we're looking at 106 deaths. It's a number of newborn estimated to have died across Kiambu County in just 4 months, when doctors in public hospitals have been on strike. Can we make up these numbers? I don't think so. It would be a cruel thing to do that. So we are looking at a situation for many that is the reality. So doctors have gone on strike because of an impasse between the county government and doctors. And we've seen the Ministry of Health write letters to pull doctors from certain hospitals or facilities because they've not been able to sort this thing out. And they need them to be on the payroll, so go work somewhere else. So that has exacerbated the situation. But more critically is that lives are lost. Children. I don't even want to say that we don't want to care about the others, but children, innocent children, are dying because of this situation. And we don't seem, if anything, what we are hearing is that on one side, the county government is saying this thing doesn't exist. But you can't wish away a dead body of a child. It's graphic, but it's true. Dr. Nyoro, you have sat at the helm of the county government as the governor, the top boss of the county. What would a situation like this, what would it take for the county government to respond to this? What we've heard in response is that it's all propaganda. That's what we heard this last weekend. But can 106 deaths in 4 months just be propaganda?
Well, thank you very much. It's really unfortunate that we are talking about numbers. But those numbers, there are lives behind those numbers. It doesn't matter whether it is 136 or 100 or 2 or 1. It is a body, it is somebody who has lost a child. But you ask how such a situation arises and what needs to be done. And I'll give you an example of the situation we were in during COVID. And a lot of people probably did not know that the doctors were almost threatening to go on strike on a daily basis. If you can remember, there were issues of their own health. There were issues, like for instance, one day they came up and said, we cannot use the normal ordinary masks. All doctors must use N94. Those more surgical kind of masks. And what we did was to make sure that we have a rapport. So the first thing that you do is you have a rapport between the health workers or any worker, for that matter, and try and avoid a situation where you will lead to an industrial action or a strike. So the first thing is, when this thing started, there should have been some consultation, and that consultation, after it fails, then you go to the second part where, okay, they may decide that they go on strike, but you eventually have to have a roundtable discussion, and so on and so forth. Now, to have doctors go on strike for over 4 months, really, is a very, very sad situation. Worse still is that the situation now in Kiambu has been politicized. It has become a political issue. You saw the other day the Council of Governors coming out saying there are no babies that are dying, that the situation is okay, that the county government should be left to learn. But on the same day, KMPDU came in and said, no, you have no jurisdiction over what we are talking about because we are raising certain very critical issues. And that back and forth situation has now crystallized into it is a political issue. It's members of parliament or the leaders in Kiambu who are talking to the KMPDU officials and asking them to continue to go on strike. In the meantime, the services are going on. We cannot even agree on the number of babies that have died. We cannot even agree on whether the services are going on or not. For a county like Kiambu, which is on news every day, if you fell sick this morning, would you go there? So we cannot assume that things are not, are normal. And therefore, we need to get to a situation where we have to arbitrate this issue. We have to get facts. Because some of these things that we are talking about are factual. When somebody dies, there's a whole process of what happens up to the death permit and burial permit and whatever. We have to know whether the services are going on. If you go to Kiambu level 5 hospital today, or Thika level 5 hospital today, are doctors working? Are they working efficiently? Are they surprised? So these are issues that are factual. But instead of really facing the facts as they are, we have tended to politicize the issue. And in the meantime, people continue to lose their life, and the matter is as bad as you are stating it.
And isn't this what we always see in this country? Whether you're talking about education, in this case, we're talking about healthcare, and in the counties. Initially, there was no political conversation around the strike, month 1. Month 2, then you start hearing, okay, so there are politicians who are taking advantage of the striking doctors. There are those who are speaking to their heads and telling them, continue, like you're saying. Meanwhile, as we are busy politicking, the hospitals where these services are supposed to be rendered, we've heard stories from patients who've gone and have not been attended. Now we're hearing numbers of babies who are dying. And then, like you're saying, rightly saying, we're now having an argument whether it is true. It is over 100, is it 10, is it 20? Are there babies anyway dying? Now the issue has escalated to a political standoff where now the governor the other day was just saying, and he was speaking in Kikuyu, I think, but loosely translates saying that, look, there are people who have wanted to make Kiambu a region. There are people who are my opponents, and they're thinking of 2027 who are instigating these things. And the conversation around then healthcare disappears at that level. Is this where we are, where it's politics that takes center stage instead of looking at real critical issues?
It is very unfortunate. The situation in Kiambu is very, very unfortunate. It doesn't have to be 100 children. No single parent should have to lose their child on account of failure to access medical services. A normal delivery does not require a medical doctor. We require midwives who are nurses. In fact, in the traditional setup, we had the traditional birth attendants. A mother delivering a child is not a sickness. It is not. It is a natural occurrence. And I want to say to the leaders of Kiambu, Governor Nyoro, shame on you, all of you, including my fellow members of parliament. If we can fail to come together on account of the lives of people, the people who voted us in, what is this benefit that I will get when doctors in Nyeri are on strike and my relatives and my village mates and the people who elected me are dying? They are suffering because their health is deteriorating. We should be ashamed as leaders in this country if we can allow our egos and this contest about 2027. And I'm asking, who is this who has had the revelation about what the situation is going to be like in 2027? Please, let's call ourselves to order and stop this nonsense. There is nothing else. There is no any other way of calling it. I would have you are my colleagues. We are in the same space. I wish I could have had kinder words to describe this situation. The issue of doctor strikes is not new. When the very first county governments got into power back in 2012, by March 2013, there were issues of doctor strikes. In this conversation, we need to escalate it, especially where strikes by county public servants are happening on account of delayed salaries. What ought to be our policy on remuneration for public servants in this country? And I want to pose to my country today, all of us in leadership, can we have a policy where every public servant in this country is paid on the same day, irrespective of whether you are serving the national government or the county government? They are public servants. If there is anything we need to do as leaders, then that is one of the reasons why we sought to be in leadership. We cannot seek to take responsibility and then fail in delivering that responsibility. We have had a similar scenario, I think, in Kirinyaga, where doctors also went on strikes for months. I think we had it previously also in Laikipia.
Yep.
We need to stop. This has to stop.
Bonanyoro, you have been a governor before, and when you talk about issues to do with the healthcare in the county, I'm pretty sure it came before. How did you handle it? How different was it? And how should the current administration handle the problem? Because we had the county chief officer here together with KMPDU, and they only not see eye to eye on the clauses within the return to work formula, where the return to work formula that you're talking about is on the non-disciplinary measures within that clause. Non-victimization clause. Yes. And that is the bond of contention, because the KMPDU says, as we go back to work, we don't want to be victimized. The county says, we are your employers. We will do as we wish. How did you handle it? And for the benefit of people of Kiambu, for Kenyans, because if I have a problem in Kiambu, I would want to go to a Kiambu hospital. How should the administration handle this matter to ensure that Kenyans can access service in Kiambu?
Like I've said, and I want to go back to what Mheshimiwa has said, that delivery by mothers does not necessarily lead to death. But we see situations where children are born prematurely, they need to be incubated, they need to be, that's really a critical stage. So it may not be a natural birth, as it were, Mheshimiwa. It could be some of those specialized conditions where the child needs to be put into an incubator and taken care of until time is ripe. But we go back to Dennis to what I started off with by saying when COVID came, March of 2020, it was a very, very difficult time, even for us, because nobody knew how the whole situation will evolve. The doctors themselves were feeling, unsafe because they were dealing with COVID patients. And therefore, there were quite a number of issues, including the nurses, that they were raising. Remember, you have doctors, which includes the consultants. You also have the clinical officers. You have the lab technicians, and you have the nurses. And each of those, category of people had issues. And for instance, like I told you, there was an issue where they said our health first. How do we continue dealing with these patients and we are not ourselves protected? And, they came to my office and they said, we want to discuss this with you. And under normal circumstances, the first stage is you have an rapport. you have a discussion, you have a round table, and be available to them, listen to them. You also argue on certain things because some demands may not necessarily be met. Like I remember that time, to get those kind of masks was very, very, very difficult, and even to get from KEMSA. So you argue with them, you discuss on issues that you don't necessarily agree. You can escalate that and say, we agree on A, B, C, D, but on this other one, can we hold as we continue rendering services so that eventually we can decide whether it is an industrial action or whatever. But for me, the time I was there was not a single industrial action, not just on doctors, including public health officers and everybody else, because you provide that rapport. Now, in case it is not there, and you now tend to to the action, the strike stage, then you have to be prepared so that you now bring in other levels of arbitrators. And the situation right now in Kiambu, and why we are very, very troubled, is that, yes, and I agree with Mheshimiwa, that there is a problem between the governor and the elected leaders, the members of parliament, and there's a lot of push and pull. In the meantime, when the two
what are they pushing and pulling?
No, even before the strike, there has not been a good working relation between the governor and the members of parliament. You remember there was an issue of a market somewhere in Thika, and both the member of parliament and the governor wanted to put up the market. There must have been a lot of money to put up for everybody to put up a market. So there is that lack of coordination. There is not that lack of no working together and all those issues. But under the circumstance, when such a situation arises, my question is, for 138 days, haven't we had an arbitrator? Okay, because we have seen situations. Even like, for instance, during the Gen Z problem in this country, we saw the churches coming in and saying, we want to arbitrate on this. In a situation like this, okay, where we have disagreements, we cannot agree on figures, we cannot agree on services, why haven't we had an arbitration or an arbitrator? We have the Senate Health Committee, whose responsibility is to provide oversight on health matters. We have not heard from them on this issue. In the past, we have seen the health committee even visit hospitals. I remember there was a time they visited Isiolo, and they had issues with the facilities there, and they raised those issues. So the question really is, where is the arbitrator in this case? Why are we treating human beings like they are not human beings? So there are several ways, Dennis, to answer your question that you go through, and all of them are to make sure that you don't get to the point of the industrial action. If you get into the industrial action, then there are other ways of arbitrating this so that you are, at the end of the day, it is not the people who are suffering.
I'm looking at a post you did, I think a day ago on Facebook, and I was just trying to confirm whether this is really you. And hearing what you're saying, it's exactly what you posted, where the highlight of the issues that are still unfolding in Kiambu over the past several weeks and months, and you are really insisting on an impartial third party that then should step in to mediate and facilitate a fair resolution to the dispute. And I'm looking at the comments, and these are people who are actually living in Kiambu, and it's interesting because then we're zooming out and saying, okay, what are the people then reading through this? Because the Council of Governors has actually said, look, let the governor continue working. It's almost as if then those in leadership at the moment don't see a big problem. However, the residents from the comment section on your your post, are actually saying Kiambu's problem then is the governor. Because like you're saying, during COVID, you have to sit down and just have a conversation, even if there's no resolution. So far, what the doctors are saying, they've never had even their text messages answered. No calls. But what the residents then are questioning, where are our MPs? They've also gone quiet. Where are the MPs?
You know, it is so easy to want to focus on the personality, the governor, the doctor, the MP. Look,
strikes are as old as pre-independent Kenya. Our labor laws are clear. Even in court, under the Labor Relations Court, there is provision for court-appointed arbitrators. So you see, the reality is that the mechanisms are there. It is the unwillingness of the combatants who are not. The battle is not about the common person in Kiambu. It is not about the health services of the Kiambu people. They have just become the perfect excuse for the battles to be escalated. And that is what I'm saying. It is a shame. It is an addiction on us as leaders. We must stop. You know, the political arena is always open. The fields are as many as volleyball pitches in the countryside at every shopping center. Let us not pull our people into the battle.
They're already in the battle, Mheshimiwa. The battle is, and unfortunately, there are very many casualties. That the battle is being fought, and it's going very quickly into a full-fledged war here because of what we've clearly established as what could be a politically incited ego issue, whereby we don't want to come to the ground. But it's already late because people are dying. That today, Wednesday, as we speak, there are people who need medical care and are going to neighboring counties to seek health care by a doctor.
Whenever we have had issues around health services in the central region, Nyeri County suffers. Because historically, the Nyeri County Referral Hospital, previously known as Provincial General Hospital Nyeri, is the natural refuge center for people seeking medical services in the public sector in a premier public facility that has largely all the specialists that are required. And here, the Constitution is clear. The mandate health services in the counties are devolved. Schedule 4, Kiambu County government signed for the devolution of health services. The CEO for Kiambu County government is none other than Governor Wamatangi. Irrespective of the political battles, the buck stops at his door. Any suffering that the Kiambu people will undergo at this point in time, he will not escape. History will judge him very harshly on this one, irrespective of the battles he has to fight. And I don't know who tells governors that once, or even members of parliament, or even the President William Ruto, he has to know that come 2027, he will have competitors. And sometimes the guys on the rooftops today may not be his most fiercest competitors. By the time it's 2027, the same realization had better hit the Governor Kiambu and also the members of parliament. The competitors will come. So the question of thinking that because I am the one you're seeing today, I am going to be your most formidable opponent is a fallacy. So the political competition will come. And that is a message I'm taking actually across the central region, on the Mount Kenya region, that the time for the political competition will come. In the meantime, in the intervening 20 or so months, there is a job to be done. For those of us who sought the responsibility to do this job, please let us do the job.
But Mheshimiwa, the question I have for you, two questions. One, and I think it was raised here, why is it that a technical issue like this doctor strike becomes a political tool for people within the same county, serving the same people. Okay? And these are the people who elected them. Why does it become a political tool? Secondly, you talk about the governor and whether he will take responsibility and what. Why should we, after 138 days, still be waiting before either somebody from the national government or from Senate? I know the National Assembly has no responsibility on counties, but we have leaders who are elected by the same people. Why is it that up to today nobody has even volunteered to come in and arbitrate and bring the facts onto the table and agree this is the way forward, that there have to be a win-win situation between the doctors and whoever, whether it is the governor or members of parliament? Why is it that up to this stage that has not happened? Health is a constitutional issue. Provision of health is a constitutional issue. Article 43 of the Constitution. It is a constitutional issue, and it is not limited to Sergio for that. This is devolved. It is a national government responsibility to make sure that such issues are dealt with. Why is it that an ordinary person in Githunguri or in Kikuyu is suffering, and we have a national government, and we have all other bodies that could arbitrate on a case like this and bring it to an end? I can't really understand.
What would be the go-to solution to this, first of all? Would it be to have some kind of, you've suggested the arbitration, you've talked about, the necessity of somebody to come in and have the conversation, but let's look at it from a management point of view. That the thing that you're supposed to be managing is bursting at the seams, it's falling apart, there's no conversation that's being had, people are sick and or dying, people are going to seek care in other places. What would be the go-to solution today? Now, in crisis, what needs to happen now?
The simplest one, and I followed that a couple of days back, the county assembly, the health committee, at the county assembly had met and wanted to bring together the KMPDU with the management of the county, but that there was an issue. Everything else, according to what I read, everything else was agreed on, except the return to work formula and non-victimization of the doctors who participated, and that they will not be paid their salaries when they. So the first thing to talk about is the management of Kiambu County to realize that this thing is beyond yours, it's beyond anything else that you want to talk about, and bring these people to a roundtable discussion and agree on a return to work formula. That can work tomorrow, it can work today. It is the easiest and the most convenient in terms of tackling this issue. Beyond that, I think the second level, and this is not mutually exclusive, is for somebody, like I'm saying, to get interested and say, look, we cannot allow this to continue. And therefore, whether you like it or not, we are coming in, come with your issues, you as a county executive, you as a KMPDU, come with your issues, let's sit together, let's work out a return to work formula, which we can supervise over time. It's already happening in Egypt, with Hamas against Israel. If it can happen at that level, I don't understand what a small strike in Kiambu would be compared to the problems that are being faced at that level.
And we have the MCAs, we have the members of the county assembly whose role is oversight.
It is.
But there's pin drop silence that comes from the county assembly on this for the longest time. Nobody said anything about this.
And I can tell you that the county assembly that I worked with, I came in half the way. The county assembly that I found was a very, very strong county assembly. They were really holding me accountable on many, many issues. You could hear that the health committee, for instance, has visited a facility, and they are calling me, asking me why there are no sufficient supplies, farm and non-farm, and so on. So, at the normal circumstance, even before you go to the health committee of the Senate, or even before any other arbitration group, the first one lies with the county assembly.
Okay, so the county assembly, which Kiambu County has how many? I'm sorry, Okari,
Well,
I know that there's a question coming in.
60 elected, and I think there are 86 or so.
Okay, 86 members of the county assembly, right? They're the appointees of the governor, the CECs. How many are those we're looking at?
No, they are probably about, what, 12?
12? Okay, 86 plus
CECs,
12. We're now at 98. Then there's the governor and the deputy.
And they are
governor.
CEOs, they are chief officers.
And then the chief officers, how many are we looking at?
Equivalent to the department, so probably another 12.
Another 12. So now that takes us to 102.
Yeah.
Plus the governor and his deputy, 104. Our
Plus advisors, right?
Plus advisors.
Plus the county public service board.
So how many are we looking at here?
Probably 150.
Okay, let's go. 150.
For the sake of argument,
150 people, give or take, if we're going to go by KNBS standards, these represent a unit of at least 4 other people, because you're going to say that the basic unit is 5 people. So let's give that another 150 times 4 takes us to 600 people. All right, I'm going somewhere with this. So are we saying that 600 people today in Kiambu County are not accessing medical care? They're not going to hospital. They're not getting checked up by a doctor. Or where are they going? Where would you go? Would you go to the county referral hospital? Would you go to the clinics within the county, the public clinics for which there was oversight by government, and in this case the county government? So if things are at a standstill in the county and these folks are all going to these medical facilities to get treatment and or consultation by a doctor, if the thing was falling apart and that's where they went, perhaps we would have seen that this arbitration that you speak about, this oversight that was necessary, this action that was needed to stop this thing would have been addressed by now. But there's the problem. These folks don't go to these medical facilities. So they couldn't care less if the thing was going up in flames, because they don't go to these facilities. And that could be a problem. No?
It's a big problem in Kenya, and I'm sure Mheshimiwa knows that people who supervise over certain services do not derive those same services from the institution they serve.
Yes,
and you said very clearly, the county assembly has their own insurance provision by a private provider, the same with the whole of the county executive. So it's and it's the same if you look at the cabinet secretaries. If you look at all of them do not necessarily go to Kenyatta or to KU referral.
Did you used to go
whatever.
to Sika level 5? Did you?
Well, I was treated whenever I had issues. Like for instance, we did vaccination. I was vaccinated in Kiambu. Whenever I would have an issue, I would call the doctor at Kiambu and say, "Can you please come on this and that because I would not necessarily walk into Kiambu Hospital and I'm seen to be examine my blood pressure. It will be on social media that the governor is falling dead. So yes, but I had an insurance cover. Okay, an insurance cover, my personal insurance cover that I came with from wherever I came from, but also a provision within the county.
Right.
So it is true that when these guys were to be attended by the same doctors with the same facilities, there will be provision of non-farm, there will be provision of pharmaceuticals, there will be provision of services, and they would also be differentiating between which doctor is better than the other because he treated me nicely. But unfortunately, it's not there.
And if the doctors that they're treated by said they're going to go on strike tomorrow, I can bet you they'd be having a conversation by noon and have it sorted out. But why this can go on for 134 days is because the folks who are supposed to be doing something about it are not being treated by these doctors, so they do not care.
You know, one of the most interesting things, Kenyatta National Hospital and Nairobi Hospital are separated by Gong Road.
Yes.
The only thing standing between the two of them is Gong Road. On this side of the road, you have where everybody in this country goes. Everybody who is who across the road
is the hospital where anybody else in this country goes. The crisis in our health sector today, and here I want to speak to myself, to His Excellency Nyoro, to our president. We have a crisis at Nairobi Hospital today.
Yeah.
It is not different from the crisis we are having in Kiambu. Unless we wake up and come down from the loft where we are living, we are going to suffer the same fate that the residents of Kiambu are suffering today. Mark my words. So as we think about intervening in Nairobi, and if we have not thought about it, it is time to intervene. Let us intervene across the board. In Kenyatta National Hospital, the renal unit, the burns unit, they have been under construction, I don't know for how many years. The oxygen plant that is supposed to serve Kenyatta National Hospital, and I don't know how long an oxygen plant is supposed to take. But because somebody sitting at the ministry decided they would execute and float and award a tender for an oxygen plant at Kenyatta National Hospital, to date, 5, 6, 7 years down the line, it is non-operational. No, I don't know the justification that we can have for these kind of things happening while we are in leadership.
You know, Mheshimiwa, when we talk about these issues, at the end of it, when you connect the dots, is a Kenyan. There's a life at the end of it all. There is, as we are talking here, we're talking about over 100 lives that are lost in Kiambu County. You go to Kenyatta Hospital and the story is not any different. You go to all our public facilities and it's a sad state of affairs. Yet we have duty bearers. Mheshimiwa, you sit in the health committee. You know, we have the governors who are supposed to ensure that healthcare is there. The president who's there appointing a cabinet secretary who's supposed to ensure that healthcare, whether in the counties or in referral hospitals, that healthcare is present, is provided, and Kenyans are enjoying this right they gave themselves through the Constitution. But look at the cabinet secretary. We've heard him talk about Kiambu, but how long will it take for him to finally say, this has to stop? The president has not spoken about it. The committee, I mean, fine, the National Assembly might not have a jurisdiction to handle matters to do with the county, but you can speak with your fellows just next door, you share the same compound at the Senate, and petition them on such matters. Why is it the political class, per se, is just quiet? Why?
You know, the unfortunate thing, like you have said, is that sometimes the political class wait so that they can gain some mileage. I don't know how. If you interpret the case of Kiambu, for instance, and where there is an argument that the 12 members of Parliament do not see eye to eye with the governor, and then the hypothesis therefore is that they would want to undermine the governor by influencing KMPDU, not return to work. You know, these are the kind of things that you hear. But the question really arises on these 12 members of Parliament plus the governor and whoever else. What would they gain? Today, a family that has lost maybe their firstborn or their lastborn will never reconcile. Yes. It doesn't matter what position you hold later in life. It doesn't matter what happens. They will never reconcile with the situation, in their own home. So the question, Lydiah, is first of all, why would we want to politicize issues such as that? And I'll tell you, in instances, because I have myself experienced this, in instances where the county leadership, from the members of Parliament to the senator to the governor, where they are working together, there is a tendency to have very, 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 very great progress in terms of everything, in terms of infrastructure, whether you're talking about health. And I'll give you an example. When we approached the previous government on, helping us to put up Githongoli Level 4 Hospital, the previous government, because we all did as members, members of the leadership of Kiambu County, the national government listened to us and they gave us 600 million, and that hospital is almost up and running. Where they are working together, there is a tendency to attract further investment, leave about now saving lives, leave about better provision of services. Where the leaders are working together, there is a tendency to have better development and coordinated development. But where they are scattered, that is where we are getting these kind of issues. So the question really is, why should we politicize human life, really? What will you get out of politicization of human life? So there is need. I know you cannot reconcile friendship. Okay, you cannot make people love one another or like one another. But then, of course, if you draw two circles, there is always that intersection. That is the intersection that we are looking at. The other sides of the circles could be your differences. You can maintain your differences, but there is a certain commonality that you have to maintain for the welfare of the society of the people that you are serving.
Okay, at the moment you're looking at Kiambu, there's a deeper issue here, and the deeper issue here is just generally healthcare across all counties. And just give me a minute to just, because we've been talking about Kiambu, we've slightly touched on Nairobi. Nairobi, for example, because I was just looking at figures here since, 2022, but this is more recently, like last year, up to where we are today. So Nairobi County doctors were on strike for 85 days. It affected healthcare in this city. Kiambu, I don't even need to talk more about it because we know what is happening in Kiambu. Now in Kisumu, doctors went on a strike. This is it was over salary stoppage. Then you have Kakamega, nurses called off a planned strike, but they had to get into a deal after a whole month out on the streets. Lamu, nurses strike is ongoing, it's indefinite. Medics downed tools of pay and stagnation. Siaya County, nurses were on strike and there were protests that later turned violent. Migori County, nurses strike was called off after there was a deal, but that took a bit of time. Elgeyo Marakwet, nurses on strike, and the strike ended after a return to work agreement. Machakos County, county services were paralyzed, and the governor even threatened to fire and rehire around 500 more nurses. We're looking at Embu County doctors suspended their strike after talks. Nyeri County is the same thing, striking doctors during national action, local participation, and so many things had to be put together for these people to sit and talk, like Governor Nyoro, you're saying. Trans Nzoia, Turkana, I can go on and on and on and on. All these are all the counties. The list is very long. My question is, let's talk solution. We are looking at county healthcare management. What's the way forward? Because the coming administration will still deal with this. And at the bottom of this are Kenyans who voted for these leaders, who at one point when they get sick, they expect services when they go to these hospitals, and they get none. Politics aside, what's the way forward?
In all these incidences, one of the first trigger are delayed salaries. That is the first trigger. And that is why I am presenting a position that the first thing we need to do, one of the biggest complaints about public servants in county governments are delayed salaries. Let us come up with a policy. And Governor Nyoro, you will remember, after on the onset of the devolution, none of the counties had the structures to pay salaries, except for the defunct local government employees. All public servants for the whole of 2013 were paid from the Directorate of Personnel Management across the nation. And therefore, all public servants received their pay. If there was a delay, it was a delay across the country. Now, these days, apparently, national government employees get their salaries regularly. County government employees are sometimes getting their salaries 3 months late. Can we have a uniform policy on the payment of salaries for public servants across the country? The second area is the question of promotions. And that is not unique to the health sector. If you looked into the issue of promotions in the police force in this country, we have officers who left Giganjo as police constables and served and died as police constables. Primary school teachers, again, another area where stagnation is rampant. In the health sector, another common area of contention is redesignation after I have upgraded my skills. This cannot be left to be a conversation happening in one corner, that is Kiambu, another one in Lamu, another one in Kisumu, another one in Garissa. In our constitution, one of the biggest roles of responsibilities of the national government is policy formulation. Since the onset of devolution, policy formulation in the national government, which is its core responsibility, has taken a back burner. We need to relook at that with a lot of urgency. The second area that has brought a lot of contention is the job designation. I am on contract, I am permanent and pensionable. Until again we have coherence between being permanent and pensionable and being contractual. And a lot of times we keep talking about best practices. Where is the world shift moving to on the area of employment? Do we still have permanent and pensionable employees in the other jurisdictions? And when we look at our resource envelope and put it on the table, then we may begin to see that some of the employment policies that we are practicing in this country will not be sustainable.
But how is it works for a certain group of civil servants? We've had conversations around judges and the kind of pension schemes that they're actually proposing to go even through parliament. We've had MPs, you yourself, we've never had MPs saying our salaries have been delayed, but you're pensionable. So how is it that you can have a conversation around whether it's permanent and pensionable when it's only a certain group of people and there are others who are enjoying salaries that are actually at the top if you're to compare with other clusters around the globe?
Let me demystify parliament. In parliament, members of parliament are not permanent and pensionable. You have a 5-year contract that you renew.
But you have pension.
You only become pensionable once you are re-elected for a second term. That is when you enter the pension scale.
Okay.
So your first 5 years are purely on contract with a gratuity like every other contractual employee.
But with a very good salary.
You can pay a pension. Tuck some away for later.
That is okay. You see, the question of the salary, and you know, we keep talking about the salary of a member of parliament, but I urge Kenyans to also look at the job description of a member of parliament. There's a job description that you have put on paper. There's a job description of the people who have employed me. If I opened my phone this morning, I can assure you.
Oh, I know where this conversation
is going. Wait. I'll just mention one. I'll just mention two. I can assure you, I have a family, I have a mother who has sent me a message that my children have slept hungry, despite the fact that I am a member of parliament, legislating, oversighting. The human part of me is such that I will have to think about this family. I have a parent whose children are at home, Form 4 kids, yet I have already given the bursary and for all kids, and especially those in Form 4, I made sure the money went in the first term. How do I deal with this?
How about ensuring that you push for capitation to get to schools early?
I want to chip in here. I think, Mheshimiwa, if we go that direction, we are going to open a Pandora's box, a can of worms. Look at doctors. These are people who have gone to school for 7 years. 7 years. I don't know who else in this country has gone to school for 7 years. And then you are sent to a particular location where there is no job graduation, where there is delayed salaries, the level of compensation is way below. It is easier to resign from being doctor than become member of parliament or become a member, an MCA, and become whatever. So when we look at these issues, I think it is necessary to say that we may probably, as a country, needs to look at what a job entails and the compensation that goes with that job.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we haven't done that, and I want to say that in matters of health, and you talked about judges and you talked about public servants and whatever, there has been a bit of discussion on whether it is necessary to have a health commission. Okay, a health commission that rationalizes all these medical staff across the whole county, so that one doctor is not paid one level of salary in Bungoma, but the same equivalent or classmates in Kakamega, they are paid differently. Whether that can be the solution, I don't know, but it is necessary to look at the skills, to look at what these people have gone through, and then give a compensation that compensates that level.
Dr. Nyoro, the things that you talk about in other jurisdictions are ring-fenced by law. And in order for those laws to come into existence, there is a body that is required to make that law. And so when that body makes the law, I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir, when that body makes the law, it then becomes something that people are bound by to do. It's not a suggestion. It's not something you do when you're feeling a certain type of way on a Wednesday. You do it. So if we've already established, that certain things are required, we have seen the replication of these mistakes year in, year out, administration after administration, whether it's at the county level or whether it's at the national level. By your own admission, Parliament, the National Assembly specifically, was unable to make a law because there was no support. So one has to ask the question, who do members of parliament represent? Because it would appear as though who they represent is themselves. To make a law that would ensure that you stay as public and state officials within the health system, because one of the things that would happen is that you would ensure that it works. If everybody had to practice and operate within that system, guess what? It would be stellar in its operation. If every single member of parliament, every single state and public official was bound to send their children to schools within this country, the system would be stellar in its operation. But members of parliament won't make that law. So the things that Dr. Nyoro is talking about are an impossibility because it doesn't happen at that level. What is it going to take to say the lawmaking body, given the sovereign power of the people, to then represent, make law, and spend money, is actually doing that thing which is going to benefit the people? That's where the answer is. How are we going to make sure that happens?
Let me first pick something that Dr. Nyoro said. The Salaries and Remuneration Commission has done some work around job description. And when we crafted the Constitution and created the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, it means that as way back as before 2010, the desire to level the playing field on matters salary was already with us. And therefore we need to revisit. I don't know whether there's an act, this SRC Act. Right now, I am sitting in the National Cohesion and Equal Opportunities Committee. After our visits around the country on matters national cohesion, we have agreed and we have a draft new National Cohesion Act in Parliament. So is it time to review the Salaries and Remuneration Commission and remove everybody else? This Health Services Commission, Teacher Services Commission, Police Services Commission, and so that we can have uniformity. As long as we will, now we feel the teachers have been on strike more times than doctors in this country, yet they have always had the Teacher Service Commission. So where again is the disconnect? On legislation, and I hope Kenyans listen to me carefully here, we have given Parliament the power as the only body that can legislate. But when we have legislation that is in public interest legislation, and Parliament fails, is it time to create a pathway for the public to push through legislation, and parliamentarians have no choice than to enact it?
What does that mean?
Recall.
No, I want to. You are.
You see,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why I have gone that way. IPPG. It was 1997.
Yeah.
Right. It was negotiated out there, and Parliament was literally bound to pass it. Thereafter, the drafts. Bombas draft, Naivasha draft. Eventually, by the time they came to Parliament, Parliament was bound. Is it time to create those kind of pathways formally, not because of political expedience at particular times, that there are issues that are of such grave national importance that we would compel Parliament that this registration has to be enacted?
One would argue that with the laws that we have today, if the legislative bodies decided to just do their job, to just do everything as per the law, we would not have to go the IPPG or the Bomas draft. If everyone just decided to stick by the law and implement the Constitution, Kenya would just be a better country. So one would say, maybe they don't care.
You know, the irony, and I follow Mheshimiwa's discussion, the irony of what he has gone through, all the strikes, and whether teachers, whether airport workers, and whatever. The irony is that when there is a signing of return to work formula, they are paid, and most of the conditions that they were striking against are met. So the question I have is, why do we have then to wait? Okay, we lose lives, we lose services, and then eventually
you still pay them.
You still pay them anyway. It doesn't make sense at all. Two, I think there is a tendency, if you observe this country, there's a tendency over the last 4 years or so for the number of strikes to increase. Okay? If it is not the teachers, it's JSS teachers. If not JSS teachers, it's the nurses, it's all across. Why? There must be a reason for that. Probably because they see we only get what we are asking for when we strike. Okay? Therefore, we need to preempt some of these by creating an environment where we can discuss, the first question that you asked, how do you preempt this? We can discuss, because eventually you will pay anyway, and it will be more costly because of the opportunity cost of what has happened. So I think we need definitely to observe that and say, what is happening? Why do you have to strike and then later on you come back? Those are issues that we need to look at. And then, finally, I think we need, I have worked for several international organizations, and what those organizations have is what they call the disaster plan. They don't call it the disaster plan, but they have a plan in case this happens. One of the plans, for instance, for an organization that I worked with, is to say, if this house is on fire, will we be in business? So what can we do so that we are in business? And we used to have like an alternative office where there are checks and whatever. At that time, electronic monetary, whatever was not common. Now, we also need to have that kind of a disaster plan, that in case there is this kind of disagreement, and to avoid losing so many lives, we as government will undertake what is the arbitration process? Is it churches? Is it professionals? Is it who? We should have that as a country, so that when that happens, you switch on that button, and if that button now can lead you to switching another button, then within a very short period of time you have curtailed this. But we cannot continue with the situation as it is.
But Governor, that can't work. If these same very people, if they just sneeze today and they suspect they have a flu, they will not go to Kenyatta National Hospital. They will fly to Germany. They will fly to Dubai for treatment. And they will post pictures how they're being visited by their fellow politicians in a hospital in Germany. And these are people who have been leaders and are leaders in this country. We look at education. The reason why they will not feel anything is because their kids are studying in Australia. They're in the UK. They're in universities in America. But lecturers in Kenya are on strike. So because huyu ni mtoto wa maskini, nobody cares, because their children are graduating in the universities in Europe. But they don't care whether the lecturer here strikes or not, because that's the only language they will understand. People have to either go to the street protest. They know, and like Aseto said, these things are clear in the law. SRC is very, very clear. The mandate of parliament is very, very clear. And as we say, the law is very, very clear.
Yeah. And you see, Okari, the saddest thing, or the irony of it all, is you fly out of the country to go to Germany to go to a public health facility. You're going to someone else's home who has made sure that their systems and processes are working. Your responsibility back home is to ensure that your responsibilities and processes here are working, so that the people get to enjoy that. I remember a while back when a certain governor left the country to go to Germany to get treated, and was saying, I went to Germany to get treated, yet you are a governor who's in charge of a health function in your county that is not.
His own doctors are on strike at that time. Yeah. And he can fly to a different country to get treatment.
That's our reality.
Today, and I have only been a first-time member of parliament. Fortunately, I have served in the health committee throughout. The current leadership of the health committee in parliament has one of the most people-centric minds among the leaders that I have come across in this country, in the name of Dr. Nyikao. Largely, all his life, he has practiced medicine. He has been a director of medical services. He has been a PS. And now he's a legislator. The commitment that I see in the leadership of the National Assembly Health Committee on making UHC work is impressive. I want to appeal to us as Kenyans, and I want to begin with us as leaders to recommit ourselves to making things in our country work.
How?
Today, If I am in Nyeri, the best consultants available to me in Nyeri are actually all employees of Nyeri County government at the Nyeri County Referral Hospital. But because I have the privilege of being able to reach each one of them on phone, and they can see me, and they can even give me a prescription, and tell me go to this facility and get this, go and get this test done, even when they are not in the country. I do not ask myself, what about the rest of Nyeri residents who do not have this privilege? What should I be doing so that they can even just enjoy half of what I am able to access?
So it seems like what you're saying is that it's not Kenyans who need to revisit this call to make things work. It's the individuals who've been put in a collective duty and responsibility to make it work.
Cannot put it
Kenyans
better.
are trying to work this thing every single day, but the people that they have delegated their power to are the ones who are feeling them every day.
In the health sector, my call for Kenyans is on pooling of resources into the bucket that will pay for services. And here, for you and me who has a pay slip, we have no choice. For the rest of us, and we were having this conversation, we say the informal sector. And we asked ourselves, the guy who owns a chain of hotels in Mombasa as a director and does not pay themselves a salary, what are they according to payment for social health insurance? They are in the informal sector. Are we accepting to pay our due? And the guy at the lowest level, is he also accepting to pay the 650 after going through the means testing? The conversation around the improvement of services across the board has to be matched on the other side in making sure that the basket from which these services are paid for has sufficient resources. The second area is the issue of corruption in our country. We are all guilty because on one side is Madenge receiving, on the other side is the person giving. And the solution to corruption in this country is one simple decision, that if all of us decided that we will not give bribes, it is a collective responsibility that we can make as Kenyans. If we agreed we do not need to give bribes, all these efforts we put into anti-corruption would not need to be there. So there is a need for us to shift our settings as a nation, even as there is a greater need for those of us in leadership to also shift.
This corruption conversation at the very top. If I, as a Kenyan, today, I leave this studio, and I want to walk into a hospital and I want to find a bed, because there's a time we took a patient to Kenyatta National Hospital, and I discovered you actually have to bribe the insiders to get an ICU bed. They're actually on sale. So if you're just coming and thinking you'll get a bed in ICU HD, you may not. You have to give out some money. If the systems worked for me as a Kenyan, I want to walk into a police station to report an incident, and I want to get a police officer to come to where I live, and I'm forced to bribe. If the systems work, I will not pay for any of these bribes. So when we talk about corruption in this case, if the systems worked, if you did your job, if everybody did their job, where will we talk about bribing? I don't need to bribe if I can actually get access to services or getting things done in a government office.
Just just one point. When Kibaki took over the presidency, within weeks of being sworn in, Kenyans arrested police officers who were taking bribes on the road. Who stood to tell Kenyans that collectively we can stop it? The issue of Kenyatta National Hospital. When there was this declaration that if beds were in public hospitals were not registered with KMPDC and you were admitted in hospital beyond the capacity registered, SHA would not pay. I took time to go and camp at Mount Kenya Level 4 Hospital in Nyeri that serves my constituents. At KMPDC, they were registered as having 24 beds. When was that registration done? When Mount Kenya was a sub-county hospital. It took me to go and sit there, call the CEO of KMPDC, call the CEO of DHA, and call the CEO of SHA to get the numbers reflected in those bodies as 53. Because the previous night, I had people from the slums called Wetemere who had gone to that hospital. They were told the capacity is full, but if you can pay from your pocket, you will get a bed. I told them, sign that document that you will pay. But on Monday morning, I will be there. It was on a Friday night. On Monday morning, I will be there to make sure that those beds are upgraded. Why did it need me to go and sit in the hospital at Mount Kenya?
Because of the system that Dennis is talking about that is so corrupted, so that requires the same system that allows you, Mheshimiwa, to make a phone call to a doctor and he sorts you out, that many other Kenyans don't have the privilege of doing. It's the same system that demands that when we see a representation of power, that is when we somehow start to act. Meanwhile, there are people in their thousands who are thronging into those facilities and don't get the attention. It's the system that Okari mentions that is fostering that. But if the system was working, it wouldn't matter whether it was James Nyoro who walked in, or Dennis or Aseto who walked in, or the person who is manning the door, or the person who's sweeping the street. If the system worked, it wouldn't matter who walked into the doors. Everybody would be treated the same.
I think for me the issue of corruption.
You had asked on Kenyans. Allow me to finish. You had asked on my call to Kenyans. The demand for systems to work has to be our collective responsibility, and we must not tire to insist that these things work. These conversations are key. Sometimes you are accused of, we only see him on TV articulating these issues. Unless I am here, Kenyans can never hear my appeal. My fellow leaders can never, hear my appeal. We have become quite expressive. But I am desiring for us to pick one thing and push until it is done. On the health sector, it is time collectively for all of us. And I've called my fellow leaders, those of us who keep running to Nairobi Hospital. There is a day you will run under the present circumstances. If nothing is done, there's a day we will land into Nairobi Hospital and you will be no different from the person who has gone to Mamarusi Kibaki or Bagadi.
Indeed, the problems in Nairobi Hospital have to do with corruption. You are talking about. If you look at what has transferred in Nairobi Hospital over the last 1 year, and who wants to be chairman and who wants to be a member of Kenya Hospital Association so that you can elect somebody who has zero knowledge on medical issues to be chairman. It's all about corruption. So corruption is a subject that is beyond the current issues that we are discussing today. It is deeply entrenched within the fabric of our society. And I agree with you, we need to start from somewhere. But it's like they say, the fish starts rotting from the head.
Yes.
So we need to start from somewhere. But, back to this health issue, and I'm very happy that you are in the health committee, Mheshimiwa, and you've talked about Nikal, whom I respect a lot. He's very, very knowledgeable, even through his days as Director of Medical Services and so on. But the question I have for you is, and I know there are teething problems in the rolling out of SHA and SHIF, which eventually will be there. I was in charge of Rockefeller Foundation universal health coverage. And that time in Africa, there are only a few countries. I think Rwanda was the best, South Africa. But we were running a lot from Asian countries, Thailand, Singapore, and so on. It takes time for universal health coverage to work. You need to pull in resources from those who have so that it can benefit those who haven't. But it requires a very well spelled out strategy. It requires that you work with the people. It also requires forward thinking. Why would you, for instance, wait until an unfortunate situation of cancer patients are demonstrating to the CS Health? Cancer patients, they are supposed to be in a hospice. They are supposed to be under care. Why would we wait until HIV patients are demonstrating because they are not getting services? Is it that your committee or whoever was looking at this did not anticipate that certain groups need to be considered and that they will have to suffer for them to come out to be incorporated? And that is forward planning that I'm talking about. We need to do a lot of forward planning in order to preempt some of the situations, even as we roll out UHC, because we will be there in the next 5-10 years. I'm very, very confident that UHC will be working. But it has to work with the people, and we have to anticipate the kind of problems that we are saying. The same way I'm saying, anticipate that there is going to be a strike. What are the 3-4 things that you plan so that you can overcome the problem before it becomes such a giant thing? These are really the issues that we as Kenyans need to start talking about and thinking about.
Indeed, and as we put them out there, necessary for us to. We've talked quite some about some of these things today. If anything, put them out there for us to be aware of the reality of the day. And it is our hope, Nyamweya, as you go back to deliberations at the Health Committee, that some of these things are actually pushed beyond talk. And for us to then put them out there and say, look, it's necessary for us to look into them. But we want to thank you, both of you, for joining us this morning. It's always necessary for us to not hide these things under the carpet. Dr. James Nyoro, former governor of Kiambu County, as well as Member of Parliament Nyeri Town, Duncan Mathenge, as well as the member of the Parliament Health Committee. Asante Sana for being here this morning. Thank you so much. It's 26 minutes to 10. We'll be back. Phone calls from you telling us what your thoughts around it and what needs to be done. We'll do that as a phone call edition of Spice Barasa. We'll do that when we come back from this break. Good morning at 26 to 10.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
He is himself actually has admitted that he bribed members of parliament,
he admitted that he bribed members of parliament?
Well, when he said
the government,
when he said that he gave the 10 million was for what?
We're always quick to point faults in somebody else before you look at your own faults as a person.
If it was Kanu's day, hii amuka naye leo ungekuwa umeenda mbali sana hii. So when we must celebrate you.
There are 600 million people now globally estimated to be living with diabetes in the world. So it is a major health problem. It's the largest single disease rising pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea today. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord. It shouldn't be like that.
I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 22 minutes to 10 o'clock. Our conversations around this morning have been seeing what SHA looks like a year down the line. Also looking at different health situations in the country and asking ourselves questions around, okay, what's the real situation? You have the National Assembly, you have Senate, which make up the body of Parliament. You have the county governments, and we still seem to be unable to get things running right. Dr. Nyamweya is optimistic that UHC, in the way in which it has already been designed, will work in the coming years. Our hope is that members of Parliament and the committees that they form will be in a position whereby they will be able to make laws that stick and laws that demand certain action towards the protection for livelihoods of people. And that's why we get into this different form of the Spice Barasa this morning, where we're going to ask you to call us and let us know what your thoughts are essentially around the healthcare system. And it's a very simple question for us this morning, that you've gone to access healthcare, regardless of where you are. Have you seen that it is actually working? I mean, and let's, we can be honest. I know there's a political spin we want to give it every now and then. We say, it's not working. Okay, tell us the truth. I spoke with somebody yesterday who said, I went for a raft of tests yesterday, and that's what we established this morning at levels. We talked with Dr. Joseph, Reverend Joseph Karaoke earlier, who said, well, look, 2, 3, 4, and some parts of level 4. At least for outpatient, when you go, you need to do your diagnoses and all of this. It works. Then later on, maybe you're going to have a bit of an issue. Is the system working for you? It's the question that we're asking a year down the line into the provision of SHA. rather the SHA service, is it actually working for you? Call us. Our number to call us on 0732 142 650. That's 0732 143 650. Call us this morning. We love to hear from you and tell us your experience, where you're calling from, and tell us what it has been, and we'll take your calls as we get into that. It's our call-in version of the Spice Barasa this morning, and we're already getting into it, taking your calls this morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Okay, maybe we need to get the volume up there. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Ndu. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is James. I'm calling from Kisumu.
Yes, James.
Let me get into the conversation. Is SHA working?
Tell us, is it working where you are? You're calling in from Kisumu. Tell us your experience with it and whether it has been working for you.
Is SHA working? Yes, it's working out of experience. Early this year, I had a sister-in-law who gave birth at Lumumba Sub-County Hospital. And upon discharge, her husband used SHA to discharge her. So it's working. At the same time, I have a mother-in-law who normally goes to her dialysis at JTRH, that is Jaramogi Oginga Teaching and Referral Hospital, twice a week, and she uses SHA. So it is working. Only that, when it comes to specific hospitals, there has to be an issue. I personally have also used SHA at KCRH, that is Kisumu Sub-County Referral Hospital. So on my end, I would say it's working.
All right.
Hello?
That's great to hear that it's working for you and you've been able to experience it in a way that it's working. So that's great to hear. Definitely hearing from other folks that. And you also paid up on your premiums, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I am. The only problem we're having now is that now we have to pay yearly, which I think could be challenging, because initially when we started, actually, when SHA was introduced, I am amongst the people who subscribed to it on first hand. So I paid for monthly, then all of a sudden it's changed from monthly to yearly. So I think that is what the problem could be, because just if you compare it to NHIS used to pay on a monthly basis. So I think that is what the problem could be. Now, at times you have to go to, when you're going to pay the monthly, when you're going to pay the yearly, you find the system now and down. So if the systems have not been able to pick up your payments, then it will not be able to serve you.
All right. Thanks very much for that. Definitely great to hear that it's working out for you. And that, of course, is a hope for many a Kenyan. So asante sana for your call this morning. All right, we're taking more of your calls, and you can let us know what your thoughts are. Call us live on 0732 142 650, and there's calling to the Spice Barasa this morning. Is SHA working for you, or hasn't been working over the last 1 year? 1 year into SHA and going past the initial issues, are we still seeing that the issues that folks faced in October 2024 are still the issues that we see in 2025? Taking more of your calls. Just to remind you that number is 0732 142 650. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, dude.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, and you? And Carla, Aseto, and Lily?
Doing good. So tell us your name and where you're calling in from, and then let us know how SHA has been for you.
My name is Colin, calling from Eldoret.
Yes.
For me, I have never had a problem with SHA. Even NHIF worked for me. But what I always have a problem with is the payment. You know, we don't have a problem in the medication and everything. I think the biggest problem is the payment mode of the institution itself, like SHA paying the hospitals. And I think from my experience and talking to people from either public hospital or private hospital, I think the very big problem is that SHA you can go to the hospital and you're treated and go, but the people, the elephant in the room is the SHA itself paying the hospitals. And I think that's the biggest problem. We see the roofer, they have withdrawn their services because of the delay payment. So I think even the NHIF was the same problem. So we have not fixed the problem whereby the hospital were not getting the money. When you are treated, you go home, the approval is okay. The other NHIF was okay on approval of whatever you're supposed to be done because my daughter has gone through some procedures. The biggest problem in this, and this you have to admit it, and the government need to admit on that and work on it, that NHIF or the health or whatever, which is in the developed countries, is working because the government invests in government hospital, public hospital, and you are treated in public hospital with your NHIF or the social health. It is treated in public hospital, not private, because private sometimes you find there's exaggeration of prices and what. But for the experience, I've had a good experience with it. NHIF, I have no complaint with it. SHA has helped me for the 1 year. I think I've been in hospital for two times, I think, but SHA paid.
Okay.
But they need to work on the modalities of paying, because I know if you go to public hospital, it is not the only problem. They cannot complain because it's public. It's a government hospitals, but they are not paid by the SHA or the previous NHIF. They are not being paid. You can get like they have 100 or something billion shillings owing the public hospital because they are not paying. I think that's the biggest problem. Just remitting the NINIA, paying the facilities. That is where the problem is.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great to hear from you this morning. We'll take some more calls even as we get into it. The number is 0723143650. So that's 0732143650. Let's hear from you this morning. Give us your views on what SHA looks like over the last 1 year. Is it working? Is it functioning? Okay, a few more calls coming in. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Give us your views on what SHA looks like.
Hello.
Hello. I'm going to ask you, first of all, to turn down the volume on your radio so that we can hear you, and then tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Okay. My name is Ben Zuma.
Hello. I'm going to ask you, first of all,
I'm still going to ask you to turn down the volume on your radio, Ben, and tell us where you're calling from.
Okay. I'm Ben Zuma from Nakuru.
Yes, Ben, what does it look like for you for SHA over the last year? Is it working?
This SHA is, on my side, SHA is not working.
Why?
Because we see even Raila Odinga is outside there going for treatment outside the country. So if this SHA was working, Raila was...
Why we are hearing your echo, Ben, is because your radio is still on. So I would want you to turn down the volume completely, and then you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I was saying that Raila, who was the one supporting SHA... Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, Ben.
So, even Raila, the one who was supporting SHA, is outside the country, going for some treatment over there. So, if this SHA was working, why Raila was going outside treatment? So, in short, SHA was not working.
Ben, have you yourself used SHA before, or any member of your family has used SHA before? So speak on your experience on this SHA, whether it's worked for you or not.
Yeah, I'm speaking from my experience because even my family have never used SHA. But not me only, even others are suffering over there.
Okay, when you say it's not working, Ben, what has happened? If you've gone into hospital and they've not paid, have you paid your premium? How much do you pay per month, by the way, Ben?
Yeah, I pay 5,000.
You pay 5,000 a month for SHA?
Yeah.
Who do you pay this 5,000 shillings to?
I pay to the Hello?
We can hear you. I'm asking, you're saying that you pay 5,000 shillings a month for SHA. Who do you pay this 5,000 shillings to?
For the ones I registered for.
You registered on the SHA platform, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they asked you where you are paying to pay 5,000 shillings.
Yes.
And you pay every month this 5,000 shillings.
Yes.
And you go to hospital and you don't receive care for the 5,000 shillings that you're paying every month?
Yeah.
Ben, one would ask the question, if you're paying 5,000 shillings a month, yet you're supposed to pay annually, so how much have you paid annually for you to be able to access SHA?
For now, I think I'm almost turning 20.
Okay. Ben, so certain things are not adding up here. Of course, we should say it. You're 20, you think you're turning 20, you're 20, you've been paying 5,000 shillings every month towards SHA. You've never been able to get any kind of... The SHA that you're paying to might not be the one that other Kenyans are paying to. Because you should not be paying 5,000 shillings a month. And if you were paying 5,000 shillings a month, you should definitely have gotten some kind of medical care and attention if you needed it. So that is definitely something you need to check on. You need to go back to the system. You need to pick up the phone and talk to somebody and either get your money back or at least get more people in your family treated. But I can assure you it's not 5,000 shillings that you should be paying every month. So let's maybe have you call the folks that you've been paying this money to and either get a refund or at least get an explanation of what you should be doing. Is that all right?
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Ben.
Okay, thank you.
So those are the questions. Okari, you look a little bit perplexed.
No, it's the gentleman. I was struggling to understand because he started off by saying, okay, so Raila was supporting SHA. If SHA indeed was working, shouldn't have left the country. Is it official, by the way, that he's actually in hospital? Has it been made official?
That's what I keep saying. If he's sick, yes, if it's not.
So we don't know. But shouldn't be 5,000 per month. It can't be.
But then I remember even SHA themselves are saying for you to access healthcare is an annual payment. So we should be talking about around 60,000 for him. So he should have known from the word go that he's paid 60,000 bob for him to access. So there was a little bit of inconsistency when it comes to what he's saying. Yeah.
Indeed, of course, that maybe, and we'll probably run into those issues now then. Okay, so let's take some calls, more calls that are coming in. And the number is 0732 142 650. We'll hear from more of you this morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Joseph Mweke. I'm calling from Watat.
Okay, please give us an insight into how SHA has worked for you.
Now, okay, me, actually, I'm a spouse. I'm registered in SHA. Now, I've gone to the hospital. You actually get to see the doctor. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
I get to see the doctor. They prescribe the drugs. From there now, you are on your own because there are no drugs at the pharmacy. So to me, SHA, okay, they say it works. To see the doctor, it's fine. But to get the drugs is another case because I end up buying the drugs all the same. I've been sick from May. And I see the doctor, even the specialist, every month. But there are no drugs. It is only one time I got drugs for 10 days. And I'm supposed to get drugs for 3 months, 1 month. So this SHA, to me, it's not working.
Okay, let me understand something, sir. You go, you see a doctor, maybe you take a test, there's a diagnosis, right? And for all of that, the system has paid. The SHA system has paid for that. You don't pay money for it.
I don't pay. Okay. For that one, for seeing the doctor, I don't pay.
Okay. But then now, to get the drugs that have been prescribed for the condition, you have not been able to get the drugs.
Exactly. And that is where the biggest problem is. Because you see, when you see the doctor, they write there maybe 600 on that form they give you. But now, like me, like the drugs I was supposed to take is about 9,000 shillings. And they're not there. So is that SHA working, really?
So, if I may ask, what did you do then in order to get the medicine that you needed for the?
I go to the chemist and buy. I've just been buying. Like right now, I'm supposed to see the doctor in December. The drugs I take, let's say sometimes about 100 shillings every day. That's tablet I am taking. But now, and that is, I'll see the doctor, I think, on 10th April. And you see, I was not given these drugs. I was supposed to get the drugs for 3 months. So it's coming at about 9,000 shillings. So I'm just buying on my own. So I don't see the reason why they keep on saying SHA is working. Which working is this? And it's not only me. You know, when you go to the hospital, we are a lot of people there. Seeing the doctor was a problem. You see the doctor. The doctor will prescribe the drugs to you. But now getting the drugs, there are no drugs. Drugs like Panadol, these simple drugs of 20 bob, you'll get. But if it's really drugs to treat you, they're not there.
I hear you. Well, I mean, thanks for your call this morning. Of course, these are things that they are being put out into. Asante Sana for calling. Thank you so much. All right, taking more of your calls. Maybe we'll do one more or two, but then, just hearing what you have to say. Aseto?
SHA as is ought to work for the people of Kenya. That is the bottom line. There's a reason why that right is enshrined in the Constitution. If you go to page 4 of the Star today, of the Daily Nation, here is a question where I'll just read the headline. We are waiting for death, agony of cancer patients as SHA falls short. So when you talk about healthcare and whether SHA is working or not, let's remember their lives on the line. When you talk about healthcare in the country, in case of Kiambu County, we're talking about children, over 100 children who are dead. So whether it is Raila Odinga accessing SHA or not, it is a person who needs health services. And how amazing would it be if the systemic failures that we see are fixed and that Kenyans get to enjoy these services and healthcare?
All right, I can see Dennis Okari is scribbling away. Let's take one more call before you can tell us what your scribble is about, isn't it? All right, calling coming in. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling in from, sir.
I'm David, calling from Nyamweya.
Yes, David, tell us about...
I'm just hearing somebody was online some few minutes ago, and he was saying that he was paying 5,000 and you are disputing.
And I didn't dispute. I asked him if that's what he was paying. I said, if that's the case, perhaps he needs to go and get a refund, or he needs to confirm what he was paying for. I wasn't disputing. Please go ahead.
Are you aware that the means testing that SHA is using is giving somebody 45,000, 48,000, and remember, this is an old mama. Have you ever come across such a case?
I have not, but what would be your argument here, David?
The argument is the means testing that SHA is using is giving some people heavy contributions per month, and these people are being told to pay per year. That is the annual contribution. These people cannot pay because if an old mama has been given 48,000, 45,000, he or she cannot pay. Why can't we go back and get what NHI used to contribute per month? If somebody is given, let's say, 4,000 per month, he or she cannot. So the person who was calling in maybe is not privy to what he was saying, but people are getting higher rates than expected. Some are complaining, but there's nothing that can be done because once the means testing has just given you the amount, you cannot change it.
You have to pay.
You have to pay that amount.
I hear you on that, David. Well, I mean, of course, we see that there's some of those examples coming through, but thank you for sharing those thoughts because it is a reality for a number of people. Asante Sana.
Thank you.
All right. So, I mean, this has been a different form of a spice barasa. Your final thoughts, Okari?
Well, my final thoughts is this goes back to the lawmakers. And early this year, there was a meeting which they called the midterm 3-day retreat for legislators that happened in Naivasha. And the MPs, as we're hearing Kenyans expressing their frustrations and the conversations we've had for the last 2 hours around this, is the new health system, and they're calling for a review. So unless we then sit down, do a review, because we're going to have layers and layers of issues that will then go unresolved. And among the things that you're hearing from the listeners is one from the first caller is the payments. Hospitals are not getting their money. So you are getting an approval, you go home, you come back, and then you can't get access to the service because the approvals have not gone through. The government is not, the money is not releasing the money. And among the things that they were talking about is how many Kenyans are then suffering and being turned away from hospitals despite being registered due to, one, either system downtimes or lengthy pre-approval processes or lack of communication. From the onset, I think, is where we had an issue where if you're told you only need to pay as low as 300 shillings, then you realize you're paying 5,000, like the gentleman was saying, per month. And the last caller who said there are people who are paying up to 45,000 and this is an old mama, then it becomes an issue. I think we need to stop the train, get off, and paint it, put some new seats into it, figure out what to do, then move on from there.
Indeed. And that has been our conversation this morning, looking into issues, health, an opportunity for us to keep delving into these. Thanks for putting it together, folks. And thanks for joining us on this situation, Kenya's biggest conversation this Wednesday. To more conversations, have yourselves a wonderful day. It's 10:10. Good morning.
Latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the Newswire.